No mistake that time, and Edmonton right back in it. 5-2. First little second of the night, 31st of the year.
On Sports 1440.
Snap and hold are good. The kick is...
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Just electrified the crowd. Everybody in this arena is standing up. This arena is shook.
Well, a fantastic, positive Friday. How are you? And welcome to the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. As always, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where Lotto Max tonight, $40 million. Good luck at PlayAlberta.ca. I'm Jason Gregor. He is Connor Halley. We got lots to get to today. 833-401-1440. 833-401-1440. Put in your phone. Save it. Sports 1440. You can always text us or call us. Same number at any time. Of course, we'll talk about the Edmonton Oilers. Oof. That was a tough first 10 minutes of the game. And really, that cost them the game, let's be honest. The final 50, they outscored them 3-2. But they were down 3-0 in the first 10 minutes, and it was not good. It was like Moses and parting the sea in front of their net. I hadn't seen that. Like, the Oilers have been really good defensively for a long time. And you know what? You're going to have games like that sometimes. You just are. And the good news for the Oilers, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who Edmonton is chasing in the division, said, you know what? We'll match the Oilers because they're at home and they get shut out 4-0 by the New York Islanders. Now, Sorokin played pretty well, don't get me wrong. But the Islanders won 63% of the faceoffs in that game. And you know what? They got scoring from a lot of different guys, Lee and Nelson and Horvat and Cizikas, and they win. So, you know, the Oilers are not going to win every night. Think about it. A good season in the NHL is 50 wins. If you have 50 wins, you're like, that's a pretty good year. Which means you're losing 32 times. And whether you lose playing great or lose playing like junk, you lose. And last night, the Oilers, they played like junk for 10 minutes and it cost them. Second, third periods, they were all over them. Marcus Pettersson saved a goal in the third period. And who knows, maybe then they pull the goalie, you know what, and they actually have success. I have no idea. But all I know is they lost, and now they fly to Chicago. Connor McDavid, not there. He's in Erie tonight as his jersey will be retired by the Erie Otters. Always a big honor in your junior town, a thrill for the players. They've all talked about it. You got the best player in the NHL coming to town. It's going to be a sold-out barn in Erie. And then, of course, McDavid will get back into Chicago, where the Oilers will take the Blackhawks tomorrow. The Blackhawks, it'll be they're playing Detroit tonight. So it'll be the Blackhawks' third game in 4 nights, because they played Wednesday, they play Friday, they play Saturday, and the second half of a back-to-back. It is a good schedule for the Edmonton Oilers, and they'll have to take advantage of it. As I said, it's hard to critique the final 2 periods of that game, but man, the first period, it was just a gong show. I like the fact that the head coach didn't pull Stuart Skinner. It's the most easy and in often cases incorrect. And Paul Skinner, he's the reason they're losing. What? Did you watch the game? Anybody who blames Skinner didn't watch the game, or they watch it through some sort of special eyewear that most other people don't have. Skinner wasn't the problem. Could he have made a save? One more? Sure. The first 3 goals, Berge had no chance on. I don't blame my goalie there at all. And when you pull the goalie sometimes, now the goalie's stats, like, there's no chance even get him a little bit better, because now he faces more shots the rest of the game. But also it's like, hey, you know what? Sometimes it's like, yeah, our goalie isn't the problem. If I pull the goalie, even though some people say, well, you know what? He's doing it to try to get a spark. No, Some people be like, wow, yeah, see, look, it was on the goalie. It wasn't on the goalie last night. It was just a terrible first period for the Edmonton Oilers. And I expect them to regroup. And then, though, then it'll be fun next 2 weeks for the Oilers because they play LA. Then they play Mini. Then they play Colorado. Then they play Vancouver. Then they play Washington. Then they play Vancouver. So 6 teams currently in a playoff spot. And 4 of those teams, Washington, Minnesota, Colorado, they're all real good. LA, real good. So great test for the Oilers, who are a good team. Just didn't play good last night in the first period, but they got a break on the out-of-town scoreboard because Vegas lost. So the Oilers today is now officially the midway point of the season for them and Vegas. They both played 41 games. The Kings have actually only played 38. They're 2 points back of Edmonton. So, you know what? If the Kings go 1-1-1, they'd be ahead of the Oilers. But either way, 3-horse race in the Pacific Division. And Edmonton plays LA on Monday. And then they don't play those teams until April. They'll play Vegas in Vegas on April 1st, in LA on April 5th. And then their second final game of the season on April 14th is at home against the LA Kings again. So we'll maybe that's on the road, actually. Let me double check. I think both games might be on the road. Either way, they do face LA 3 more times. And they play Vegas once. I look at the top 7 teams. Like right now, the Western Conference has 7 of the top 9 teams in the league. And I went through the first 41 games, or in case of a team like Dallas has only played 40, they're still there. LA's only played 38, they're still there. But, you know, it didn't include a team who's played 44 like New Jersey. Might have more points, but they didn't have a better winning percentage, point percentage through 41 games. And the West is good. There's 7 really good teams. And, man, I would argue this year more than ever, home ice advantage is going to matter in the playoffs. And if you can find a way somehow to win the West and finish first, that means you get wild card number 2. And right now, Vancouver, Calgary, Utah, or St. Louis, I don't care, pick any of those teams. They're not in the category as the other 7 in the West. They're just not. So it's a drop from LA down to even Colorado, Edmonton, LA, Dallas, Minnesota, Winnipeg, all of them. So, and Edmonton's within 6 points. It's not a huge hole, but it's also not that easy to make up 6 points. Like the Oilers have played really well since November 1st and have gained virtually no points on Vegas. So they're going to have to continue to play well, and we'll see. Other Oiler news today, if you missed it, Evander Kane was announced. Kane had another surgery. He had an E-scope done yesterday. It popped up a few weeks after his abdominal surgery. They got it looked at and discovered that he needed something removed from his knee. Now, no structural. This is not an ACL, MCL, PCL, nothing like that. Consider it like, a bone spur, something like that. So it's not huge. Any surgery, I know we say minor or major, but this one was not structural. So that's a good sign. He'll have to put a pause on his abdominal recovery for a bit, but he's hoping in 2 to 3 weeks he can start the process again with everything. And the way I look at this announcement with Kane, you're thinking April at best he can come back. And like I've outlined the rule, and if you're just joining us, the Edmonton Oilers, there is a rule, and it's a legal rule in the NHL that you can bring a player who's on LTIR and send him on a conditioning stint where he doesn't count on your roster. Because usually, if you put a guy on a conditioning stint, he's on your roster. So Kane could go down and you get 3 games. Then you could actually apply to play 2 more. If, in the case of Kane, he basically hasn't played a hockey game since June. Right? Now, I don't know what the exact parameters are, what the league would do to accept an extension or not. But either way, that is a very legal rule that the Oilers could use. And if you look at it, and let's say Kane gets activated, he goes on LTIR down to Bakersfield, and they could put him on LTIR, they could activate him, right? And he's really not even activated. He's not on the roster, but he just goes on LTIR conditioning stint is what it's called. He could go down to Bakersfield in April. And let's say you do it on, just for argument's sake, Monday the 8th. So he goes down. He could play Wednesday the 9th, Friday the 11th, Saturday the 12th. And maybe 3 games isn't enough. So they apply for an extension. Now they get 2 games. And you know what that does? Takes the end of the regular season. Now, the other option is they could send Kane down on Thursday, April 10th. He goes on a conditioning stint for 3 games, not counted on the roster. Friday, April 11th, Saturday, April 12th, Wednesday, April 16th. Then he's done. His 3 games. Do you know when the regular season in the NHL ends? Thursday, the 17th. He comes back up. Now, you know what? He played 3 games in the American League. Now we're going to activate him. Oh, regular season's over. Bingo, bango, bongo. He could be available. And that is a legal, well within the rule scenario. Now, I don't know if Kane will be ready to play. They don't know yet. But I'll tell you this. They would take him on their roster. Brings physicality. I asked Evander specific. He talked about how, like last year, it was painful skating. You lift your foot up and it felt pain every time in your abdomen. So he's like, man, I'm looking forward to be pain-free. Couldn't really jog last year. Couldn't do anything. So I look at Kane, and he brings elements. Anybody who watches the Oilers, he'll bring a physical element. He'll bring a little bit of on-ice arrogance. He's got some skill. Physical. He's got good hands. He would add lots in your bottom 6. If best case scenario, all he does is play bottom 6, that would be good. So that's the scenario with Kane. I think the odds of him being available in the regular season are getting lower by the day. So that means at the trade deadline, the Oilers would have his LTIR cap space at $5.125 million, plus anything they will accrue between now and then. Currently, today, the Oilers aren't accruing any cap space. They've got Josh Brown on the roster. So anytime the Oilers carry 22 skaters, they're not accruing cap space. And so, he was recalled last, Saturday? So it's basically a week. And now I guess they could send him back down, but because they have another 3 and 4 game road trip, I'd be surprised. Right? So he probably stays up. I would think after that Vancouver game, I could see them making a roster move for that. Now, the other decision will be about Noah Philp. And I think Noah Philp, you're going to have to get a look. And I think you'd rather get a look with Noah Philp before the 4 Nations face-off break, which is February 8th for the Oilers. Then they come back on the 22nd. Edmonton has 14 games between now and the break. If they play, Philp's not playing tomorrow. Now it's 13. Not playing Monday. Now it's 12. That's 3 other games. So now you're down to 9. They got a 6-game homestand, then they go on the road. That 6-game homestand has a mix of playoff teams, Washington, Toronto, Vancouver, some non-playoff teams in Buffalo, Detroit, and Seattle. So you could get a little bit of a test for him. Also have some lesser teams where maybe you can get him a little bit more comfortable and confident. But to me, at some point in that 6-game homestand at the end of the month, starting January 21st, I'm calling up Noah Philp. No doubt in my mind. So, but the update on Evander Kane tells me that I think the odds for him to play in the regular season just got a lot lower. So there you go. Last night, Connor Halley, Notre Dame gets that win on the last second field goal. Well, not how close to the last second field goal. Yeah, the Oilers with a terrible first period, but then Vegas helped them on the scoreboard. They get shut out 4-0 the Islanders. And also the rare teammates, each with a -6. Both Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, -6. Woo! It's a tough night.
6-3 game. Tells you out for every single goal and not on for one. Not ideal for the Maple Leafs. Yeah, interesting nights in the sporting world, Gregor. We were here for the Oilers, and not a good start. Tough to get back from that when you give up 4 in the first period. And what can I say? I was wrong about Penn State. All my hopes lie on the Longhorns. We're going to be in tough tonight against Ohio State, but setting up a really good weekend of football. We got lots of action for the next 3 days.
Yeah, it's it should be. It's a great time to be a hockey fan. So there's only one player in the last quarter century who had a worse night plus minus than Matthews and Marner. Now there's been in those 25 years, there's been a total of 21 players who were -6. Marner and Matthews joined that group doing it last night. But you got to go back to Chris Butler as a member of the Calgary Flames was -7 on January 5th, 2012 in a 9-0 shellacking at the hands of the Boston Bruins. That's when Tyler Seguin was still a member of the Boston Bruins. He opened the scoring that night. Milan Lucic was on that team. It was an ugly game for the Flames and Chris Butler. And I'm looking at the game sheet. Butler was -7. Jay Bouwmeester was -5. How about that? Brody, they lost 9-0 that night, and TJ Brody played 24 minutes and 57 seconds and was even. It's kind of impressive when you think about it. So, yeah, Marner and Matthews. I got to look. Are they the only teammates in the they might be the only teammates. I got to look that up in this century to be -6. Ooh, mama. No, actually, Heatley and Kovalchuk did it as members of Atlanta back in 2003. Now, remember, Anze Kopitar was -6 last year, too. So, a few guys have done it in their time. Also, you had, what is that? No, lots of different Florida guys and lots of different times. But, yeah, only 2 sets of teammates have done it. So, it's rare. They should feel excited about themselves. Probably not. Coming up on the show today, Ben Pope will join us. We'll get an update on the Blackhawks, who are taking on the Red Wings tonight. Lorianne Munzer will be by. We got Yaremchuk, Bob Cataldi. Bob Cataldi was Connor McDavid's billet when he was in Erie. And we'll talk about their connection and friendship with his kids. Had daughters and a young son at the time who was 8. And Craig Button will be by, Mark Spector, Alan Mitchell. So we'll just kind of talk about the legacy of McDavid in Erie and what he meant to that community and what he still means to that community, and what he's done for a lot of people in Erie. So Bob will join us at 3:40 about that. We look forward to it. So we'll take a quick break. 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our eWell inbox. You can text us.
Actions speak louder than words. Japa Machinery Group puts your construction plan into action with XCMG construction machinery you need. Available for rental or sale. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Just when the weather is raising your nosy, someone's got a new menu that's tasty and cozy. What? It's Booster Juice. Now you can warm up and chow down with a savory selection of grilled fresh favorites. Breakfast wraps, chicken wraps, grilled cheese, steak, and chicken paninis. Topped with melty cheese, creamy pesto, spicy chipotle. Grilled fresh options made in-house, warm and delicious. Made daily with the finest ingredients. Cozy comfort food at Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
At Leading Edge Physiotherapy, we believe in the wisdom of Patch Adams. Treat a disease, you win, you lose. Treat a person, I guarantee you'll win no matter what the outcome. We don't treat conditions, we treat people. From personalized treatment plans to compassionate care, we're committed to helping you achieve your goal. That's why hands-on techniques, unique technologies, and a commitment to hiring amazing people mixed with friendly, fun neighborhood environments. And ta-da! No, it's not magic. It's about being human. Sometimes being human hurts, but life shouldn't hurt. LeadingEdgePhysio.com.
We now have a post-game show on Sports 1440. After the next game, tune in to Andrew Walker as he breaks down the game with you. The post-game show brought to you by the Ridge Social Eatery, St. Albert.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
Looking for the perfect spot to unwind? Check out the Ridge Social Eatery, St. Albert. The Ridge is a locally owned, upscale neighborhood restaurant offering unbeatable daily features. Open daily at 11:30. Craving something late? Check out their new late night menu from 8 till close. Tuesday is wing night. Come savor the Ridge's perfectly seasoned wings that always hit the spot. And why not pair those wings with a $4 draft pint? Welcoming atmosphere, friendly staff, good times. For more, visit theridgestantalbert.com or social media.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Epcor. Stormwater ponds in Edmonton are designed to move water and runoff from streets and sidewalks, making them unsafe for winter activities. Instead, head to a community league or city rink that's safe for you. Think twice and stay off the ice. Learn more at epcor.com/winter safety.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Positive Friday continues on. How are you? Hope you're having a lovely day. Got big plans for the weekend. Is there lots to do in the sporting world? I will ask any of you diehard golf fans, did you watch any of that virtual golf tour that they're doing with the PGA players? I had a few of my buddies who are like diehard golf guys because they asked, are you going to watch? And I was like, you could not pay me to watch that. Like, hey, I don't have enough time to watch every sporting league in the world. But that one, no chance. I could list 100 different events I would want to watch over that. And so I asked them their thoughts on it. I'm not going to share it first. I'm curious what you, if any of you watched it, what you thought of it. I'm just curious. 833-401-1440. Let's go around the NHL now, brought to you by McDonald's, and the showdown menu meal is on. McDavid versus Matthews. You can get the Big Mac David, which is a double Big Mac. You want to try the Poppy Quarter Pounder, a little twist on it for Austin Matthews. You have the triple cheeseburger Sunday and more. Check it out right now. Limited time only at McDonald's. The Edmonton owners will be, well, they're actually in Chicago already, and it's one of those rare times where the visiting team is already in the city waiting. Meanwhile, the Chicago Blackhawks are in Detroit tonight to take on the Red Wings, and then they will face the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow. Ben Pope from the Sun-Times joins us. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Trying to stay warm from the snow here in Detroit. It's really coming down hard right now.
Oh, really? Jeez. It's actually balmy here right now. So give me your thoughts on the difference that you have seen since the coaching change for the Blackhawks.
Well, it's been some both ways. They've had better games than they really ever had under Luke Richardson, and they've also had worse games than they ever had under Richardson. And that's not entirely surprising considering the system changes that have been made. Richardson had the team playing very conservatively, just trying to stay in every game. And they had been in almost every game that he coached, but they weren't really getting over the hump, and Bedard wasn't doing much. They couldn't get much offense. And so Sorensen came in and opened things up. He's focused on getting Bedard the puck in motion more, and he's encouraged the defensemen to be more active, joining the rush, pinching in, and just play a sort of a more high-tempo, aggressive game. He's dialed up the forecheck. So there's been some games where that's worked, and then some games where it's backfired and they've been blown out. So altogether, they have been a little bit better points-wise under Sorensen. They're 6-9-0 since he took over, which is actually an improvement over where they were under Richardson. But things have been pretty rough coming out of the Christmas break. They were blown out by 4 goal deficits in 4 straight games before now winning 2 of the last 3 entering tonight. So we'll need a larger sample, but it's been a mixed bag so far.
Connor Bedard's, if you look at individuals, and I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence, but maybe there's a different approach from the new coach because obviously he's on the longest point streak of his young career at 8 games. Talking to Bedard or what you see, Ben, anything noticeably different under the new head coach for him specifically?
Well, they definitely have emphasized getting him the puck in motion more, as I talked about. He was kind of being a little bit stationary because the whole team was stationary before, and so that's helped. I think giving him a longer run to develop chemistry with Tyler Bertuzzi, their biggest summer addition, which Richardson strangely never really did after a couple poor preseason games together. That's worked out. The 2 of them have developed a lot of chemistry. I think the last 6 Bertuzzi goals in this 8-game stretch have all been assisted by Bedard. So they've figured out something, and Bertuzzi now leads the team in goals as a result of that. And we've also seen Bedard dial up things a little bit more in the forecheck. He forced the Hawks' first goal on Wednesday against Colorado by dumping it in and then pressuring it, forcing a turnover, and Ilya Mikheyev scored. And that's something he's talked about wanting to be more involved with. The whole team has had conversations this week about kind of what their identity needs to be in the second half, and they they know they're not going to be a talented team or a particularly great team, but they want to just be a little bit harder to play against, a little bit more aggressive and tenacious. And Bedard knows that he can play a role in that, even though he's not like a physical, gritty guy. So he thinks forechecking is one way he can do that, and he's probably right about that. So those are some ways that things have improved for him lately. Obviously, the points are starting to come, which just helps his overall confidence and mood, and we'll see how long he can carry this forward.
Ben Pope joins us. Oilers in Chicago tomorrow night. When you look at Bedard, and have there been one or two wingers that you think are the best fit for him?
Well, I think Bertuzzi, as I was saying, that made sense all along because they have such complementary styles. Bertuzzi's going to get to the net front, scrap it up, knock in rebounds. I mean, pretty much every single one of his goals comes from within 10 feet of the net. And Bedard can make plays, be more around the perimeter, kind of get the puck through the neutral zone. So they work really well together. And I think everyone saw that from the minute they signed Bertuzzi and going into the season, but they just never were really given an opportunity to figure out how to make it work. And now that they have, it has worked as you'd expect. They also signed Teuvo Teravainen over the summer, and we kind of thought that would make sense as the other wing for Bedard, considering Teravainen has a bit more defensive instincts and a pretty good passer. It would just kind of be three different skill sets. They had some success early in the season, particularly on the power play, but it hasn't really clicked yet. Maybe later in the season, we'll see that start to make sense or start to work as it makes sense. But so far, it seems like maybe Taylor Hall has done some work there. I mean, he's pretty good at carrying the puck. Right now, we have Mikheyev up there, and Mikheyev's not really an offensive guy, but it has worked at times. He does bring some speed, so it's been kind of a mixed bag in terms of the other wing. But Bertuzzi at least seems to have clicked.
Speaking of Taylor Hall, he is he's a pending UFA. And I see, Frank Saravalli and other guys have him, near the top of the board. Have you talked to Hall? Is there any talk between him and the Hawks about an extension, or do you think it's a foregone conclusion and he gets moved?
I haven't talked to Hall about deadline stuff yet. I probably should do that soon, but I think it is more likely than not that he gets traded. Not out of the realm of possibility that they could extend him, but he's one of the few guys on this team who probably would get a second or third round pick at the deadline. I mean, he's a former MVP. He hasn't been off the charts this year, but he's been decent. I think he has 21 points right now. He carries the puck really well through the neutral zone. I think he leads the team in offensive zone entries, so that's a strength. And he's a good guy in the locker room too. Always has some interesting things to say. And we saw after the Winter Classic, I mean, he was almost on the verge of tears. He was taking that pretty hard. So he definitely gets invested even on a struggling team like this one. So I think more likely than not he gets moved, but probably closer to the deadline because the Hawks want to try to have him help get things back on track the next month heading into the international break before they really get into those discussions.
Ben Pope joined us. Looking at the Blackhawks roster, Ryan Donato's had a pretty good year. He's a pending UFA. On the back end, there's Alex Martinez. What do you expect? And then there's Peter Mrazek, who's kind of a fascinating one. He's played great, but I don't know if Chicago you get rid of him, and I guess it all depends on what teams are offering. But who do you think outside of Hall are some guys that are going to be sought after by opposing GMs?
Yeah, Donato for sure. I kind of have a hunch that Donato might be more in demand than a lot of people would think, and might drive up his price, which the Hawks would obviously love. He's had a good year. He started out really hot. It's tailed off a bit lately, but he's found a finishing touch. He's a scrappy guy. He's consistent. Just kind of makes an impact in all areas. And it seems like every year at the deadline, there's a couple guys like that who aren't big names and aren't big point producers, but that a lot of contending teams think could just be that perfect addition to their bottom six, and it ends up kind of creating a bit of a sweepstakes that drives up the price. The Hawks benefited from that 2 years ago with Sam Lafferty. They ended up basically getting a second-round pick for him from Toronto, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being kind of the same thing with Donato this year. We've seen him traded at the deadline before on other teams, so he's certainly probably the second biggest one to watch for outside of Hall. Mrazek is interesting, as you mentioned, because It's tough to move goalies at the deadline, and he has struggled the past month. He hadn't gotten a win since November until Wednesday when he finally had a bounce back game against Colorado. But it really depends on the health of Laurent Brossoit, who they signed over the summer. He had meniscus surgery in August, and it's just the timeline's been pushed back, and now had a second surgery in December, and we still haven't even seen him on the ice. So the last timeline given was that maybe in mid to late January, he'd start getting cleared to resume some activity. So if by the trade deadline in early March, he's back to playing, suddenly you have 3 goalies on the roster. And I think Arvid Soderblom being the youngest, you want to give him an opportunity to show what he can do for the future. So maybe in that case, they would look to move Mrazek or even Brossoit if he's kind of proven that he's healthy again. But that's really kind of a wait and see, because if Brossoit isn't healthy, they're definitely going to hold on to the 2 goalies they have.
What is up with Brossoit?
Well, that's, other than what I just said, we really don't know. I mean, he's had ongoing knee problems. He's had 2 surgeries, and he hasn't even skated. So it's kind of the mysterious man of the season, really, for the Hawks.
Yeah, and so right now, Ben, they're not expecting him to play again this year, are they?
Well, as I was saying, like the most recent timeline given in early December was that by late January, he'd be reevaluated. And I think it would be possible that he could come back. I don't know how his recovery from that second surgery has progressed. And at this point, I mean, we're halfway through the season, and the fact he hasn't done anything on the ice certainly creates a lot of skepticism. But I think it's possible that he does play this season.
I know that he's not with the team now, but how did Kevin Korchinski fare? He's a very young defenseman. And, sometimes we see guys go up and down, and he obviously has the ability to not clear waivers to go to the minors. But is this a really good move by the Blackhawks rather than try to, force a kid to develop in the NHL? They're letting him develop in the AHL?
Well, I think they would have loved to have him in the AHL last season, but just with him being a 19-year-old Canadian, he wasn't eligible. So they had to put him in the NHL, and it was valuable experience for him to some extent, but also it was more just kind of trying to survive every night rather than really trying to thrive, to be cliche. He was on the ice for a lot of goals against, and he wasn't really able to show his dynamic offensive skills and puck moving ability and skating ability. Those are the traits they drafted him for. So in the AHL this year, finally, they want him to really focus on becoming that high-scoring offensive defenseman that they drafted him to be. And they know there's still going to be hiccups. I mean, he's still only 20, and he's not a finished product by any means in the defensive zone, although they want him obviously improving in that area too. But they really want him focusing on taking risks and just finding the way to translate his skills to the pro game. And I think we've seen that. He's been on the ice for some of the most goals for by Rockford, and then also some of the most goals against. And it's just going to be a process. He was up for 9 games in December in the NHL when they had some injury problems on defense, and we did see his improvement. He was more aggressive, moving the puck, jumping up into the rush. He looked better defensively. He had a great play on stopping a rush by Artemi Panarin in his first game up in Madison Square Garden that really opened some eyes in the organization, and he seemed more comfortable as well. So I think we're seeing him take the steps forward, and potentially next season he'll be back in the NHL and a bit more in the spotlight again.
It hasn't been a lot of games, but he scored his first goal. How's young Frank Nazar looked?
Well, it's really been that he's played well, and the puck just hasn't gone in for him that much. It seems like every game he takes a little bit step forward, and he has a really quietly confident personality. So he has the right personality to kind of deal with that adversity that happens when you first get into the NHL. And he had maybe his best game yet on Wednesday against Colorado, and finally got puck to go in on just an easy rebound tap in. So maybe that's what it takes to break the dam. And tonight's his homecoming game in Detroit. He grew up playing for the Little Caesars team here. He scored his first college goal for Michigan at Little Caesars Arena. He's going to have over 40 friends and family in attendance. So pretty special one for him. And maybe this will provide that even bigger step forward. But really, aside from Bedard, there might not be anyone on this Hawks roster who's more important to the future than Nazar right now. So over the second half, there's going to be a lot of attention on the progress that he makes.
Ben, really appreciate it. Quickly, they're into Detroit tonight. The Red Wings suddenly, they made their coaching change, and they are rolling. So, they're in that battle in that kind of weaker Eastern Conference where it seems everybody is in the wild card race. What do you make of tonight's matchup for the Hawks?
Yeah, talking to Patrick Kane this morning, he was saying that if you asked him over Christmas what he thought of the season, he would have said it's been a huge disappointment. But now the mood's really high, and they believe that they can make a run in the second half. So I haven't admittedly gotten to watch the Wings too much this season, but it does seem like they're kind of putting things together, and it's interesting to have Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, and Eric Gustafsson, 3 former Hawks, on the roster for it. So in addition to the historical rivalry between the Hawks and Wings, it's a bit more connection too. So I'm intrigued to see if they can keep this going forward. And obviously tonight's a pretty favorable matchup for them. So good chance for them to get their 6th straight win.
And lastly, Jonathan Taves rumblings about potentially making a comeback. What do you make of those? Do you think it happens?
I'm going to have to kind of see it to believe it, to be honest. I mean, it would be awesome if he did. I think that'd be such a cool thing for him, a cool thing for Hawks fans, even though it probably wouldn't be with the Hawks. And Kane was saying that he'd love to see it. They've talked a little bit in recent weeks. But I think it's just going to be so tough, maybe tougher than Taves even realizes. He's 36, almost 37. He hasn't played in almost 2 years. It took a whole year off before that as well, and the COVID season. And it's not even that he just hasn't been playing. I don't think he's even really been practicing or skating up until the last few weeks. So it's going to be a huge hill to get over. I think it's more plausible that he could make it back for next season than at the end of this season. But it's going to have to see it to believe it. But if I do see it, I'll believe it, and I think that'll be a really cool story.
It would be an interesting one to watch for sure, Ben. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy the game tonight and tomorrow when McDavid, Draisaitl, and crew come to Chicago.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me. That's
Ben Pope joining us from Chicago. So good rundown on some of their injured guys and where they're at as an organization. This is a team the Oilers should beat, but they just beat Colorado. Right? The Islanders just beat Vegas. Pittsburgh just beat the Oilers. The bottom teams have had a lot of success lately against the top teams. Should win doesn't guarantee a win. Very different. I would think, though, the Oilers, you saw how they rebounded in the second and third period, and they all to a man, they admitted it was a brutal first period. That's what cost them the game. They didn't play poorly in the second and the third. They played poorly basically for the first, I'd say 10 minutes for sure. I'd probably even stretch to 15. And they played so poorly for 10 minutes that they allowed 3 goals, and that cost them the game. The other 50 minutes, they outscored Pittsburgh 3-2, but they were brutal for 10 minutes. So it's not so much about, of course you got to play well, but you just can't play. You're going to have stretches where the other team, even bottom feeders, are going to have good opportunities. It happens. But you just can't be as weak as Edmonton was for a 10-minute stretch, because that cost them the game last night. No doubt about it. 2:39, we got a lot of text flying in, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440 in our eWell inbox. We'll turn Lorianne Munzer will join us. We got a really unique guest coming up later. Bob Cataldi will join us. He was Connor McDavid's billet for his time in Erie. And Bob and his family have young kids. They had young kids at the time, and how did McDavid kind of fit in, and how, they've kept really close in contact. His entire family was at McDavid's wedding, everything else. We'll talk to Bob about that as Connor McDavid is in Erie tonight for his jersey retirement ceremony for the Oilers.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
Hey, sports fans, we've got a clear choice for you. At Crystal Glass, we provide customers with the perfect glass for any job. From home to auto and even commercial, installation or repairs, we're your team. Call 310-GLASS or visit crystalglass.ca. Crystal Glass.
The locks are on a timer. They're going to get out.
Sounds like a job for
the men and women of Action Electrical.
Service team reporting. With the remarkable reach of our bucket trucks and other equipment, we assess, service, and maintain your electrical lighting and automation systems.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the only place to call for heating your home. So when it's time to replace your old furnace, call Legacy. Call Legacy. Or for 24-hour repair with no overtime rates. Legacy even heats your shower with hot water tanks. Call Legacy. Call Legacy. And with no interest and no payments for 1 year, it could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
Introducing the Female Super League. Female hockey is on the rise with more women playing the game than ever. Join us as we pave the way for the future of women's hockey. The FSL is more than a game. It's a movement and an experience for the motivated female athlete. Teams will compete in a showcase-style format featuring consistent interprovincial competition. Come be part of the journey as the 2024-25 season unveils a 12U division, as well as the launch of a groundbreaking progressive body-checking 14U division. For more information, visit femalesuperleague.com.
Something just worked together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients, better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
Scott McGilvery here, HGTV host and renovation expert. The one upgrade I know homeowners will love: better, fresher Culligan water straight from the tap. Culligan's Aquasential reverse osmosis filtration system takes your water to the next level. With up to 7 stages of filtration and 14 filter options, they're certified to reduce over 90 contaminants. Your tap water is about to get a major upgrade. Safer water that tastes great. Get started with a free in-home water test at Culligan.com. Culligan, water you love.
Portions of this hour brought to you by On the Rocks. Watch every Oilers game at OTR with $5.25 Molson Canadian and $5 Pink Whitney shots. Also 60-cent wings. Plus, you can play Oilers Score and Win to win On the Rocks gift cards. Oilers hockey at OTR. Book your table today. Jasper Ave and 118th.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
$2.44. Jason Gregor. Connor Halley with you, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X, as we are joined by Olympic gold medalist. She is also a mental coach. Joins us every Friday, Lori Ann Munzer. Lori Ann, how you doing?
Doing awesome. Happy Friday, Jason.
Same to you. I want to talk about wearables for athletes. So, you know, there's all these watches and different things, heart monitors. There's lots more things that they wear to track lots of different performances. So, I guess, give me your thoughts on wearables for athletes.
I think they can be a great asset, and I think they can also be a really big deterrent. So when they're working really well, and you can get some really good data, distance, speed, calories, that sort of thing, heart rates, especially if you're monitoring different zones that you're training in so you don't get overtrained. But then it can also go the opposite way, because if the battery doesn't work, I see so many athletes, they're panicking going, oh my gosh, I can't train. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, because they're always looking at the wearable, their watches, or, you know, the data. If you're on an ergo machine or you're on a bicycle, you've got the cycle computers, that sort of thing. And sometimes we rely on them so much because, well, we got to produce the power if we're going to get to that next level. Oh, if I don't hit that next level, that means I'm a failure, that I'm not good. And sometimes that can play really bad stuff with your head. and it won't necessarily put you on that trajectory, and it impacts your mental preparation, your mental thinking, your mindset, how you feel.
So when you talk about, let's start with what can go good, like specifically about the wearables.
Yeah, totally. Distance, like I'm thinking cycling, right? High speeds, if you're doing a certain, I call them tabletops when we're training, is you go for 5 minutes and you want to try and keep a consistent power wattage and RPM. But then the other component is to stay in your heart rate zone. You don't want to go too high. You don't want to go too low. A lot of
How do you monitor that, by the way?
There's a formula. 220 minus your age is 100%. So what I do is I work with 3 zones. I can't remember 5 things. I can remember 3. So zone 1 for me and my athletes when we're training is 55% of your maximum to 75%.
So your maximum is 220 minus your age?
220 minus your age.
So your max when you're 20 should be 200.
As an ideal guideline,
yes,
it doesn't mean it is going to be. Some might be
Yeah.
higher, some may be
Yeah.
lower.
Some
right?
people have smaller hearts than others, just right.
Yeah, and some have a rapider beating heart rate, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So again, this is something to, be mindful of. It's not like, oh my gosh, you have to keep hitting those numbers, because when I was training and racing, I was over and above the numbers. I wasn't where I was supposed to be, but sometimes I would be lower. So it all depends.
Okay.
Right. For athletes to get overtrained, we can just like keep giving her. And then your gas tank of energy is 0, or it's getting really low. And then when you have a race or an event, you wonder why am I not doing so good? How come I didn't have that performance? And sometimes if you're doing too much, you're training in too high of a zone for too long of a duration, it can actually put you over the edge. Or if you're not doing long enough, like endurance stuff, I probably could have done more endurance than what I did, because all we did was like sprints, max. And then we would take, Jason, this used to kill me. We would take a 15 to 20 minute rest. And it would be like, I am so bored. My head's going every which way but Sunday. And then it's like, okay, fine. Then we can go and do the next effort, which would be, 20 to 30 seconds. And then I'd have to wait for another 15, 20 minutes. And it's
Because
like,
you can't give your max if you're not rested that long?
yes and no. I think we had too much rest. I
Okay.
would have probably gone with 7 to 10 minutes, because if I could do the lower rest time, then I would be able to build that capacity.
Yes.
I would have a better output, and I probably wouldn't have gotten slaughtered as often in the races because I had too much rest. And I know it sounds funny, but
Yeah.
it's true. But you don't know what you don't know. And
How long did it take you to figure out that was too much rest?
I'm going to say this year, in looking back.
Oh, okay.
No, just kidding. But
Yeah.
but seriously, it was something
Because you
that
didn't always keep that much rest.
No.
Yeah, okay.
That was like for pure power.
Right.
But then we'd be like 3 hours at the track.
Yeah, it's way too long.
You do 10 efforts and it's like 3 hours. It's like, that was a really, really long time.
Yeah.
Didn't mean that we had to be spending that much time, but there are some great data that you can get. But if you're totally relying on the data, sometimes you forget to use what I call your spidey senses, right? It's that intuition. It's that gut instinct of going, you know what? I actually think I could go one more or a couple more efforts, or you know what? Today I'm going to pull the plug and we're just going to call it right here.
So this leads me in. I know this wasn't a topic, but I always like it because you say something and now that spurs a different idea for me. So we're talking about, interval training essentially, right? And so now every sport is going to be a little bit different for sure. But if you look at, I know you have different athletes for different sports. And so when you train for hockey, right, you're doing short, quick bursts, right? Like the average shift is 40 seconds, right?
Yes.
And it's not like you're going sprints for 40 seconds because you're slowed down, but you're up, you're down, and you got to be able to have maximum capacity for 40 seconds and then rest. And in some cases, you rest for a minute and then you come right back.
Yes.
So when you're training for that, how do you start? Because I get a lot of times, it's like, I'd see in hockey, you go watch practices and they're like, hey, you want to try to emulate a game thing. So it's like, I skate the length of the ice, then 3 stops and starts in the zone, skate the other end of the ice, because that's kind of what you would do in a game.
Totally.
How long should you rest? Has there a science study that you've seen? What's the best thing to do to rest, for amateur athletes, not elite, but amateurs, so they can start to build that up?
Absolutely. Number one, it's figuring out what is your time frame. Is your time frame a minute and then a minute rest? So we call those 1-to-1 ratios,
Okay.
minute on, minute off. Jason, it could be 15 seconds on,
15 off.
no, not for starting.
Okay.
It could be 15 seconds on, 45 seconds
Okay.
rest. So 3-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
I really like as we're starting to come into the season. If you're just coming into the season as a late blooming starting athlete, I still would start you there for a couple of weeks so then you can start to build your foundation. As you get going through the season, it would become like 1 to 2. So you could either go 15 seconds and then 30-second rest, 15 seconds on, 30-second rest, or you could start building it up going 30 seconds on and then a minute rest. So you can play with them there. You're going to get different results for each segment.
Okay.
I like the component of taking a pen and tracking it. Pre-book it
Okay.
for what you're going to do versus just, oh, I'm going to pull it out of my pocket and, oh, well, this looks really good. You guys look like you're feeling pretty good today. I don't think that's a great idea because it's harder to measure. And if you're making it up on the fly, like I see a lot of personal trainers do in the gym, they haven't even set out what the
Right.
course is, right? I have the whole season planned out for and up until April 10th. And then 2 days later is Saturday. You should be on the road, weather permitting, but you've got to have that plan. And there's going to be different combinations that are going to like sink your athletes. Ones that you think are going to sink them, that they thrive because they're just like, I love the challenge.
If I want to get better at biking, right? Like I want to be able to maintain, my RPM higher, right? Like, so eventually, obviously, let's say I'm a 28-kilometer biker. I want to get to 30.
Yes.
Right now, I don't, maybe that seems probably like a pretty big jump now that I say it inside my head, like 2 kilometers, on average over 30 minutes. If I go from 28 kilometers to 30, I don't know, maybe it's not as big of a jump. What have you found for the average, because you know what, I'm getting into Peloton, for instance, and there's lots of people out there that do it. And I'm like, I want to push myself and I can see my time. And I know that some days are good, but some days I think I'm doing it too much because my leg, I can feel when I'm like, God, I got nothing today.
Yep.
Right? Like my legs are dead. So what's the best for just Peloton, average schmuck like myself who wants to get better? What's a good training outline to do?
Well, number one, I would ask you, what is your RPM? So if you've never cycled before, I would get you on a bike, not a lot of resistance, but not too easy. Kind of find that halfway point.
Like 30, like on a I'm just going by the resistance. 30 is pretty easy.
Yeah, but what is your revolutions per minute? What
Okay.
is your leg speed?
Yeah,
And
at that lower.
at that
Yeah. Okay.
at that level entry, like it's not too hard, but it's not too easy. It would be where, say, you're starting as a warm up.
Okay.
Right? A lot of the triathletes, they sit around 70 to 75 RPMs. And a lot of the triathletes that really don't know a lot about cycling, that's where they sit because it's the old adage of pushing is better. And
Because it's funny, because when I do Peloton, maybe a lot of people out there, you'll drop down. It's like, okay, now our resistance goes up to 50, but our RPMs, they want you to stick in a 65 to 75 zone.
Yep.
And so it feels like it's harder, right? I find it's harder for me to maintain higher RPMs at a lower resistance.
Absolutely, because you're not conditioned.
Okay.
So my athletes, where I start is number one, get the starting point of where are you at if we've never worked together and maybe this is your first year coming onto the bike.
Okay.
Let's see where you're at. My goal is to have all of my athletes sitting at 90 RPM. 90 is a beautiful number for your knees.
Okay.
Not too much tension and it's not loosey-goosey.
Okay.
It's just that beautiful number.
Sure.
When I was racing, I would sit about 120, 130 RPM. So a lot higher, a lot more. But it was very specific because I had one gear and no brakes. So as you start going, even if you're adding tension, you still want to bring that RPMs and keep it at a constant 90 RPM. There's times when we'll do drills and we'll add like 2 more RPMs for 2 minutes. And then we'll add 2 more RPMs.
Right.
So you've gone from 90 to 92 to 94. And you do these staircases.
Staying at the same resistance, or do you up your resistance while you up your RPM?
It could be a bit of both.
Okay.
Sometimes staying at the same resistance, because the only thing that changes on a 3% grade is either you're going to change your gear and you go down in the RPMs, or you stay in the same gear and you increase your RPMs. So you can play a lot with that. If you're flipping between gears, sometimes it is add a gear and still keep the RPM at 90. Plus or minus 1 is where I like to try and play the game because it's creating that awareness. And most athletes on a bicycle, they will stomp. They will use their quadriceps for pushing down the pedals, because I think we all had a CCM or a Canadian Tire bike. There were no rat traps.
Yeah.
There were no straps on the
no
bike.
strap or even clip-ons, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was something that came in around 1987, 1988. Look was the first one. They came in with the bindings for a bicycle that were like the ski boots.
Yeah.
You cork or crank your foot left or right and you pop out.
Yeah.
It's great for safety, especially when you crash and you hit the ground. But to be able to do that is when you're in a clipless pedal, which means your foot is connected and locked into the pedal, you can actually pull up.
Yes.
Which is using your hamstring, which most people don't do.
Yeah.
And then I used to think it was the coolest thing. You see a rider on a time trial coming down the road and they'd be squeaking left and then they squeak right and they squeak left and then squeak right. I used to think that was so cool, but it's not. You're losing so much power and you're losing so much distance because you stomp with your left foot. It pushes you right. You stomp with your right foot and it pushes you left. And that's where you get the
you're talking.
look.
Okay. And I see what so they're weaving like when they used to have the sprints down the stretch to win the race. But the most efficient ones are, of course, in a straight
It's going
line.
straight. But then if you're sprinting, you want to kind of screw up the person behind you so that they don't pass you. But then you're also it's called honking as you're going up the hill. You're taking your bike and you're slamming it right and left, but you're like a piston where you're totally vertical, getting the most amount of power transference to your pedals to propel you forward. But then you also want to do this thing called shake and brake. American Flyers, if any of my cycling friends have seen it, is like you go left side and right side and you're snaking around the road because you want to try and lose the guy who's on your wheel that is trying to stick on you like glue.
It's great stuff, Lauren. We might have to do a segment once where to outline, because we got a lot of people texting in. People asking, would Lorianne come and does she take average people just who want to get set up on a biking plan?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So they can reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I also teach a winter spin class. We've gone virtual since COVID, but I teach from the 3rd week of November until the 2nd week of April. Because we're virtual, we do 3 days instead of 2 days. So I teach 2 nights, Tuesday, Thursday nights for 75 minutes, 6 until 7:15 p.m. And then we do a Saturday morning coffee shop fun ride from 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock in the morning. So I talk about setup. If anybody's looking for a course or a run through, hey, if I'm jumping onto my bike at the gym, it's set up a little different. I'm small. How do I fit these bikes? Because I don't want to go out and spend $1,000 or $2,000 to do the indoor stuff. What could I do? Happy to have a conversation. Please reach out through my website if you want, LorianneMunzer.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Lorianne. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a good weekend.
There you go. That's Lori and Munzer. Good stuff. We'll return. We got lots more on the orders. Evander Kane. Some interesting outcomes in the NHL last night. They really kind of drive home. Also, orders are officially at the halfway point of the season, 41 games. I have 10 questions for the orders. We'll ask them periodically over the next few hours. Get your thoughts. I have 10 questions regarding the Edmonton Oilers. Some individually, some about the team. We'll tie them all in the final 3 hours of the show here on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Let's get to the Con Man and a Sports 1440 update brought to you by Booster Juice. Shake the wintertime blues with Booster Juice and enjoy one of their many warm and savory grilled fresh food options made in-house daily with the finest ingredients. Visit Booster Juice today or download the Boosters Reward app.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
Just 5 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. The Blackhawks in Detroit taking on the Red Wings. Of course, the Oilers in Chicago tomorrow at 5. Also, Caps, Canadians, Canucks, Canes, the Jets host the Kings, and the Sharks taking on Utah. In the association, you got the Warriors in Indiana. Magic host the Bucks. Falcons taking on the Sixers, Knicks and Thunder. And the Nuggets taking on the Nets. College football playoffs roll on tonight at the Cotton Bowl in Arlington, Texas. Number 5, Texas, up against number 8, Ohio State. Kickoff on that one set for 5:30. Locally, the Oil Kings will host the PA Raiders. 7 o'clock puck drop at Rogers Place in the BCHL. Bruce Grove and Sherwood Park meeting at Grant Fuhr Arena. That one gets going at 7 in the AJ Olden Devon. Canmore meets Camrose. Drumheller hosting Calgary. And Drayton Valley in Fort Mac. The Golden Bears hockey tonight. They'll be in Calgary taking on the Dinos at 7 in town. The Pandas hosting the Dinos at the Drake, also a 7 o'clock start. At the U of A main gymnasium over the weekend, we've got Bears and Pandas wrestling. Bears and Pandas volleyball on the road taking on Lethbridge over the weekend. The Sony Open in Hawaii, round 2 action. Zach Johnson atop the leaderboard at 9 under par. Got a few others tied for second at 8. When it comes to the Canadians, Nick Taylor, Adam Svensson, and Adam Hadwin all 5 under. Ben Silverman 2 under. Taylor Pendrith -1. Corey Connors even. Mackenzie Hughes 3 over. Pendrith and Hughes have yet to start their second round of cut, looking like it's going to be -2. Coming up in hour 2 of the Jason Gregor Show, we will be joined by Colin Livingston for the Cantor Racing Report, Tyler Uremchik of Oilers Nation, and Bob Cataldi, the former Billet in Erie, for Connor McDavid. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
It's Sports 1440, a Stingray radio station broadcasting on Treaty 6 territory.
Download the free iHeartRadio app and listen to CKJR wherever you go.
Vimy and Donnan Hockey are dedicated to skill development for all hockey players. If you know a student athlete interested in growing as a person and a player, attend the Vimy Open House on January 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. Beginner or experienced, this program nurtures and develops a student athlete's skills in a supportive environment. The Vimy Open House is a great opportunity for prospective student athletes entering grades 7 through 12 to see what Vimy Hockey and all of the other sport academies at Vimy have to offer. Visit vimyridge.epsv.ca for more info.
Experience more at the Edmonton Expo Center. Come for Canada's largest trade show, the biggest names in entertainment, exhilarating sporting events, and more. Stay for the experience. But it doesn't end there. Maximize your brand exposure with Edmonton Expo Center's new cutting-edge feature screens, spanning Western Canada's largest venue space. Captivate an annual audience of over 1 million visitors during iconic events like Pro Rodeo, Disney on Ice, Glow, K-Days, and so much more. To learn more, call 780-660-0514 or visit EdmontonExpoCenter.com today.
Just when the weather is raising your nosy, someone's got a new menu that's tasty and cozy. What? It's Booster Juice. Now you can warm up and chow down with a savory selection of grilled fresh favorites. Breakfast wraps, chicken wraps, grilled cheese, steak, and chicken paninis. Topped with melty cheese, creamy pesto, spicy chipotle, grilled fresh options made in-house, warm and delicious. Made daily with the finest ingredients. Cozy comfort food at Booster Juice. Download the Booster Rewards app today.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90 from Volvo of Edmonton, you'll have the versatility to take on whatever life throws at you. The new XC90, a luxurious SUV with seating for up to 7, boasts newly upgraded body and wheel design. It's the perfect choice to drive into the coming year. And right now, you'll save $4,500 and lease from 1.49% on all in-stock 2025 XC90s. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
Start your weekend off right with WHL Hockey in Ice District. Family fun that's second to none, starting at just $20 a seat. This evening at 7, your Edmonton Oil Kings go toe-to-toe with Eastern Conference rivals, the Prince Albert Raiders. Plus, at every home game, score Calmont Kids food combos for $10 or less. The value is king-sized. Catch junior hockey at its finest at Rogers Place and score family fun that's second to none. Edmonton Oil Kings, Prince Albert Raiders, 7 o'clock tonight. Great family entertainment at Rogers Place starts at just $20 a seat. Tickets and more at oilkings.ca.
Horse to this hour brought to you by Cantor. We have for sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantor.com.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
A lovely, positive Friday. How you doing? Jason Gregor, Connor Halley with you. We're going to get to the 10 questions. It is the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca, where you can get involved 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Something suggests we'll get a lot of your thoughts on the questions as I ask them throughout the next 3 hours of the show. Different ones at different times. Won't ask all 10 right away, but we're officially at the halfway point of the season. The Oilers are 6 points behind Vegas for first. They are 2 points up on the Kings, but the Kings have 3 games in hand. And the top 7 teams in the West, there's a clear separation between them and everybody else. Vancouver, Calgary, St. Louis are probably the 3 teams I think that look to be battling for that final wildcard spot. Unless one of the top 7 really stubs their toe, and I haven't seen any reason to believe why that would happen. I think it's basically one spot open in the playoff race. Now, the East, there's definitely, I think, 2 wildcard spots that are wide open, and there's way more teams involved there. So the first question we'll get, you guys can answer it, is Leon Draisaitl. Is he going to score 60 goals for the first time in his career? Now, he has 31 goals in 41 games. Back in 2022, he had 31 goals in 41 games. He finished that season with 55 goals at 110 points. And the thing about Draisaitl is, did you know from 2020 to 2024, that's a 5-year span, he led the NHL with 108 power play goals. The next closest was Sam Reinhart at 74. Like, that's at 34 more than anybody else. Like, he's been the best power play scorer in the league. First 19 games this year, he had 1 power play goal. Now he has 6 in his last 18 games. And that puts him only at 7 on the season, which, 14 on the year. That's well below. But did you know his career high in even strength goals is 31? He already has 24. He, in this century, I should say, there's only been 5 players who have scored 40 even strength goals in a season. Ovechkin, Stamkos, Pasternak, Rantanen, McKinnon, Austin Matthews. That's it. So Draisaitl could join that club. We'll see. So is he going to score 60? 833-401-1440. While I wait for your answer on that, we didn't get to this yesterday because usually we do, but we were able to switch around. Busy day with all the pregame show and everything else. So we'll get to the racing report now. Brought to you by Can-Torque, where they offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Find out more at cantorque.com. Colin Livingston joined us for a rare Friday afternoon. Colin, how you doing, man?
Positive Friday, man. This is a pleasant change of gears here.
Yeah, there you go. Let's how about Helio? Let's start with Helio Castroneves trying to turn back the clock for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, I mean,
he's never driven a stock car, has he?
The closest that Helio's come is there was a series, it ended in the mid 2000s called the IROC series.
Oh, I remember it.
So
yeah,
the International Race of Champions, where they tried to take drivers from all walks of life. So they tried to target Formula One, IndyCar, drag racers, and put them in equally prepped cars with NASCAR drivers so that they could all have the chance to show. The thing is, they only raced on NASCAR tracks, and they raced on tracks where NASCAR guys do this all the time. But yeah, really, Helio hasn't. And, I don't mind Helio at all. Obviously coming from the world of open wheel, we got a bit of a soft spot. But again, NASCAR brands this event as their Super Bowl. And a guy who is, knocking on 50 years old, who's never actually raced in the series, is able to just show up for the biggest event of the year. And it sounds like he's just going to qualify because they've created a new rule. I won't get the wording right, but basically legend from another sport is given. Like he won't.
It's like in the Masters in golf, right? Like if you like Mike Weir still gets an invite to the Masters every year
because he won it.
Yeah.
So as a champion, you can always come back to the Masters the rest of your life. But to get there, you've had to win somewhere else. You've had to play as good as the best field in golf, aside from maybe the Open Championship. So you've actually done something where this is their biggest event, and he's contributed nothing to this point to get there. The thing is that
all name recognition.
They don't get points. Like they don't. Yeah. If he wins, it doesn't count towards the playoffs. Like the system has become such a mess. It's really shocking that this should be the showcase of their best talent, not just the biggest name who wants to come in. Like,
Right. Okay.
if all of a sudden Michael Jordan again decides he wants to play in the Super Bowl, he can't just show up for the final game and say, okay, well, I'm Michael Jordan, I'm going to play football now, and I'm going to be a place kicker. Like, it just, you can't have that kind of crossover. But for, because the Daytona race specifically isn't overly physical. Again, I want to be really crystal clear. It's not easy to run the race, but it's not really physically demanding, because you run the race wide open throttle all the way around the track, and it's about how you manage the draft and how your car can actually pass. It'll be interesting for sure. I don't project that there's going to be a lot of success for him, but it's going to give some decent storylines and get people talking a little bit.
Now, they're 7 weeks away from F1 when they can test their 2025 cars in Bahrain. And 7 weeks, people are like, oh, that's a lot of time. But then Scott Mansell put out this video on YouTube that it takes 7 people. It takes multiple people 7 times 24 hours a day to build one front wing.
Yep.
Just one front wing.
Yep.
And but then you have it that it takes multiple people a full month, 28 days by 24-hour days, which no one can do, of course. And to build one monocoque, what's it called?
Monocoque. Yeah.
Monocoque, okay. Because it kind of looks like a bathtub. And that's like the base.
Yeah, they call it, like, the nickname is the tub.
Yeah.
So the
Because you're
tub
sitting
is like
in the
where
tub.
the driver
Yes.
sits, and it kind of looks like a bathtub. But yeah, like, they've got day shift, afternoon shift, night shift. Like, people are building these parts 24 hours a day for an
One of them for a
entire
month.
month. So you can
It's like
imagine
a
how
pretty
expensive,
intricate Lego.
like
setup.
the Scott Mansell, he puts out some of the greatest videos, and if people aren't following him, Racer 61 on YouTube, it's the greatest stuff. It's very, very entertaining.
Okay.
He's also trying to work on building an inverted section of a racetrack to test the theory. If we know that a car can produce thousands of pounds of downforce and only weighs like 2,000 pounds. In theory, you should be able to drive it upside down. They're actually trying to build an inverted thing so they can categorically determine if the downforce is enough to allow a car to drive upside down. They do some really, really cool stuff. He's a former racer, tied up with
So
Renault.
they would have tires on both sides of the vehicle?
No.
Well, how are you driving upside down? Is it floating?
As they're driving, they would end up kind of climbing a bank,
Yeah.
and end up upside down for a period of time, and then steer it back down to where it's flat.
So while you're upside down, though, you're basically flying because you're not on the road.
No, they're building, like, if you can imagine, like,
They're building a
culvert.
track, and so your tires stay on the track, and it's above
Correct.
you. Oh,
Correct.
What?
That's what they're
Yeah,
working
okay,
on.
I get it. All right, I
Yeah.
see it now. Okay, it's like a half pipe.
Essentially, yeah. That
Okay.
for a section, they want to be able to see if and if they're wrong,
Yeah, then it's
it's going to be really bad.
well, I was just going to say what they're going to have. They're going to reach to a point. Okay, now we're going to go up the wall. Now we've got foam pits all in the bottom of the half pipe the rest of the way. That's the only way you can
Racing's a dangerous occupation. So
do it. Yeah.
we know this every time we get in.
Now, what's this Jack Duhan with his full season with Alpine? Is he out before he's in?
Officially, no, but practically, yes. He hasn't. He did do one race because
Yes.
he got slotted into the Alpine at Abu Dhabi when they decided to pull Esteban Ocon out of the car. He did get his one race.
Yeah.
They've got him signed. Speculation, because they signed him, and then the new, whatever they're calling him, technical advisor Flavio Briatore came into the team kind of after that decision was made, or before his influence had kind of spread like it has, and is taking a look and saying, listen, I really want this Colapinto kid, which they've signed now as a reserve driver. So immediately Duhan is under pressure. If he doesn't perform in the first 5 or 6 races, he'll be pulled. And I have no inside knowledge, but I can promise, to the best of my understanding of racing, the decision's already made. Like, it won't matter what Duhan does. He's going to get replaced by Colapinto.
Some point during next season?
Oh yeah, because the release clause that Williams talked about, because they had him as their driver, they wanted $20 million to buy him out of his Williams contract. Now, whether Alpine had to pay that or not, they had to pay Williams something. They're not going to pay that money to have the kid sitting on the sidelines. Like the decision's really already been made.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked last week about, well, this guy deserves this guy doesn't deserve that, this deserves this. Like, deserve schmurv, like, it doesn't matter when these guys are all cutthroat, and they can go on TV and they can string together really eloquent sentences, and they can really talk ambiguous with big smiles on their faces. But when it comes to making decisions for the race team, there's no loyalty, there's no courtesy, there's no compassion at all. It's whatever they think is best for their organization, regardless of and it, like, again, there's no loyalty, so they don't care that they're going to end Jack Doohan's career potentially because they've already made this decision. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, Briatore, he and Fernando Alonso worked extremely closely together for a long time.
Yep.
Alonso is the one that's managing Colapinto's career now. So this is the kind of politics that happens behind the scenes. You know, they won't talk about it, but you got to know it's there.
Now, Ray, big league racing's kind of done for the year, but the Chili Bowl Nationals start on Monday.
Yeah.
And people love this. What are the Chili Bowl Nationals?
So these are midget cars. Now, that's not a improper term for a short person. Midgets are, small sprint cars that either have wings or don't have wings. There's a bunch of different classes, but they turn an expo center into an indoor dirt oval. So the oval's a quarter mile around, same size as Wetaskiwin, but inside. And these drivers haul ass. It is crazy. Like, you think of driving on dirt, like, if you watch what we do in our NASCAR series when we run at Oswego, these cars are crazy heavy and they have no grip. Like, every driver comes out like, this is worse than driving on ice. But these sprint cars are built for this, and they haul. Like, they have so much grip and so much power when they come out of the corners. I was watching some highlights because last week they had what they call the Tulsa shootout, which is kind of the lead up. They have so much power and so much grip. When they come out of the corners, the really good cars are picking the front wheels up, and they're like catwalking down the front straightaway until they have to slow down and the front tires settle down again. It's really awesome to watch. If people tune in, I think it's a subscription service if you want to watch live, but you can also watch the highlights for free on YouTube. Really pay attention to where the drivers tend to run, because they won't really run the same lap 2 laps in a row. The track is changing every single corner of every single lap, and it's the really hyper-aware drivers like the Kyle Larsons and Christopher Bells and Kyle Bushes and the full-time, like, World of Outlaws drivers. They know how to feel their car, and they will always move their car around. They'll try going into the low side in 1 and 2, the high side over 3 and 4, and they'll keep moving around all, like, through the entire 20-30 lap heat to find the best lap every single lap. They know that they're going to compromise when they try something and it doesn't work, but it's not like in, racing on an oval in IndyCar or in NASCAR where there's grip in one place. And if you try and pass
every lap.
And these guys, again, there's going to be like 30 cars on track on a quarter mile.
Is there a crowd at this?
Oh yeah.
Because the last time I went to, like, the indoor and they had the monster trucks. Now, I know it's different fuel, but man, I was in there for like 20 minutes. All of a sudden, my eyes are burning. I'm like, I didn't like it.
But monster trucks run on alcohol.
Yeah, so this is different, right?
And there's only 2 going at one time. Like, they talk about the Chili Bowl flu because they're trying to add.
Yeah, like, aren't you just inhaling that stuff? Yeah.
And there's the ventilation isn't great there, but they're trying to add more ethanol to the fuel to make it less toxic for the people who are watching. But even the teams are like, okay, yeah, but if we kind of cheat on the fuel, we're going to have a bit more power, and they don't really care. So there's a lot of teams just in the last week that were DQ'd for fuel And there's a bunch of people who have been doctoring tires. So they're like putting chemicals on their tires to get more grip. But that's
like
been
the cheater bowl, not the chili bowl.
If you're not pushing the limits, you're not trying.
Call, we'll talk to you again next week, man. Have a great one.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks a lot.
That's Colin Livingston in the Racing Report, brought to you by Can Torque. We got Wanye Gretz join us, your Remchuk. We're talking Oilers. I got 10 questions for you. So far, many think he's not going to reach 60 goals. Wow, it's Positive Friday. Not very positive amongst Oiler fans. So far, it's about 70% say no to Draisaitl scoring 60 goals. Interesting. 833-401-1440. With the announcement of Evander Kane today, and if you missed it, Kane just had another, he had surgery on his knee, but it wasn't anything structural. It sounds like he had a bone spur or something. He just had something removed. His words, not mine. So they didn't go exactly what it was, but he basically outlined. They just had something taken out, but it's not structural. It just delays his recovery time. And from this instance, it would be like 4 to 8 weeks, but now he's got to take some time off from his abdominal. I'm guessing there's no chance Kane plays in the regular season. I'm just going to say that right now. So do you think the Oilers look to acquire a scoring left winger? That's question 2. 833-401-1440.
For years now, we've been warning Edmontonians on the hazards of our stormwater facilities. While they may appear to look like still ponds, there is moving water beneath the surface, which makes the ice dangerously... The unpredictability of stormwater facilities makes them treacherously unsafe for all winter activities, even walking. So think twice. Don't go on the ice. A safety message from EPCOR.
Wow, get ready for a silly hockey fans. Your partner in power just skated onto the ice.
EWEL.ca, the new e-commerce website for electrical wholesalers Edmonton, is ready for the power play 24/7, 365.
UL skates to where the puck will be in 5 years. Now that's forward thinking.
Killer selection, slamming products from the best brands, and legendary service.
Don't sit on the bench. Get your account today at EWEL.ca and win that project.
Plug into your partner in power. Get an EWEL.ca account today.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
When interest rates are low, that's a good time to buy a vehicle. And 0% means it's a great time to buy. Right now, St. Albert Dodge can set you up with 0% financing on hundreds of vehicles. Virtually all new 2024 models. Jeep Compass, Wrangler, Grand Cherokee, and Wagoneer. 0%. Dodge Durango and Hornet. 0%. Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks, all as low as 0%. Why pay interest? Head up the trail and see how easy it is to do business at St. Albert Dodge.
Mr. Rooter makes a prank phone call.
It's ringing.
Hello?
Hello there. Is your faucet running?
Yeah, actually it is. I have this really annoying drip.
Oh, you'll want to check for mineral buildup or corrosion. Otherwise, it's likely an defective gasket or O-ring. I got him good.
Mr. Rooter, you're the worst at this.
For lousy punchlines and immaculate water lines, trust one plumber, Mr. Rooter.
McDonald's presents a hockey showdown like never before. McDavid versus Matthews. There can only be one winner, competing for all the glory and all the prize. The new menu features top shelf plays like the Smoky Quarter Poppy and the Big Mac David, so everybody scores, with even more delicious options like the Spicy Junior Chirpy. Now that calls for a silly Sunday. The Showdown menu, now available at McDonald's.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I'd like to thank all the people who buy new RVs. Buying your RV new is the most generous thing you can do to help your fellow man. Every year, thousands of people just like you go to the RV show or walk into a new RV store, pay full price, take great care of it like you always do, and then eventually sell it to us. And of course, we pay you market value for your used RV.
But that's tens of thousands less than you paid for it.
That's right, Bob. Could be half of what you paid for it when it was new. and it's still in great shape. So who gets the benefit of that reduced value? Our customers, that's who.
Noble customers never pay full price for an RV because we only buy used.
Right again, Bob. So we'll enjoy the same RV you have now, only we pay like half as much. And it's only possible because you generously decided to pay that higher price when you bought it. So thanks again to all the new RV buyers, and we'll see you in a few years.
And that's Noble.
NobleRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Japa Machinery. Japa is digging deep on their 50-year history supporting Alberta's construction industry with their line of special edition blackout excavators. Visit japamachinery.com for all the details.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Positive Friday continues on Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. How are you, Oilers? The big news, and coming up, we're going to have Connor McDavid's Billet, who billet him in Erie. And of course, it's a big night in Erie tonight because Connor McDavid is going to have his jersey retired, and he is in attendance. Jeff Jackson, of course, his family will be there. And a big moment, not only for him, but the entire organization. You got the best player in the world coming back. Should be a lot of fun. So we'll talk to Bob Cataldi about housing young Connor McDavid as his billet family for the time he was in Erie. But first, we'll get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton. The Volvo winter event is here. You can lease a 2025 XC90 plug-in hybrid from 1.99% and save $4,500 right now at Volvo Cars Edmonton. Wanye Gretz joins us. Wanye, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. I dang near thought you said Connor McDavid was coming on the show. No offense to Connor's billet.
Yeah, he's got he's got something going on tonight, So,
but when you said Connor McDavid on the show, I was with you.
Yeah.
I thought I was the big man.
We haven't had him on in a while, but we could probably get him on again.
Have you had Connor on the show?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's been in Edmonton for a decade. You better have him on the show.
What was it like?
No different than interviewing anybody.
Did you do a long form interview? Like, did you talk to him for a while?
No. We only had him for one segment.
Oh, so that's still pretty good.
Yeah. So no, I've had him on multiple times on the show. So, but we've talked about. I think with him spending more time in Edmonton, there might be a better chance in the off season moving forward to have him come in studio. So
I can't believe he's in year 10 of his career.
Yeah, it's been pretty good 10 years.
I'm like, why is Erie retiring the number of such a young, vibrant prospect in the NHL? No, he's 10 years in the NHL. Okay.
Yeah. Time flies for Oilers fans. Tyler Yaremchuk from Oilers Nation and Daily Faceoff joins us. Ty, with the announcement today, Evander Kane had another different surgery, not related to his abdomen. It's something that popped up in his knee. He said 2 weeks after his abdominal surgery, and so they just had to remove it. It's nothing structural. So it's just going to delay his recovery time. And I do the math and all the recovery time, and they're saying 4 to 8 weeks from this surgery, not to mention they're delaying the rehab of the other one. So I think there's the odds of Evander Kane not playing in the regular season just went up significant today. So do you think the Oilers will go out looking for a scoring left winger?
Honestly, unless there's another injury, I'm not sure if they'll go out looking for another scoring left winger. I think the priority should be to maybe add another bottom six centerman, someone who can play on the third or fourth line, probably the fourth line with Adam Henrique on the third line right now. And then if you do that, you can move Janmark over to the wing. And I don't know, I look at the Oilers' top six right now and the way things are structured. I think it's fine. I think they have enough depth there. I think they have enough help for Connor and Leon. When you look in the bottom six right now, I don't really have a problem with it. So you have 12 forwards you can trust at this moment. Derek Ryan is your 13th forward. Not that, that's fine. If you had to put him in a pinch in a playoff game, I don't think you're overly upset about it. And then if you can acquire another fourth line center, it bumps probably Kasperi Kapanen out of the lineup. If he's your 13th forward, you're happy about that. And then when Kane comes back, it adds another layer of depth. So I don't think they need more scoring. I would focus more on just a centerman for the bottom six.
And a defenseman, of course. Okay. So that leads to my next question then. Jeff Skinner. So I crunched the numbers today at Oilers Nation, and Jeff Skinner is currently 5th on the Oilers amongst forwards in goals with 7. He has played 469 minutes 5-on-5, but only 112 of them, 48 with McDavid, 58 with Draisaitl, and then 6 with both of them, has played 5-on-5 with the Oilers' top guy. So basically, not even 20, like maybe 20% of his time, right? Do you think Skinner contributes more and gets a longer look in the second half of the season at any point with the Oilers' top skill guys?
I think he should. And I mean, to even tie it back into your first question, I think before you go out and see if you want to acquire a skilled top 6 winger, you should probably just give Jeff Skinner 3 straight games with one of McDavid or Draisaitl, or 4 straight games with McDavid and Draisaitl, and just say, hey, can one of you guys figure it out with him? Because if it clicks and they do have something there, because like you just pointed out with the minutes and the numbers, he's never really had that long stretch of getting to play with one of those two. I would strap him next to Connor McDavid for 4 games, say, see if you guys can figure it out, see if some chemistry clicks. Because again, middle of the season right now, I think you can be a little experimental, like we've seen with the move like having Zack Hyman down on the third line. Strap him next to 97, see if it works. And then at least you have that answer going into the deadline, right? See if the in-house solution can work before you go out and spend assets on anything else. So I think Chris Knobloch should try that at some point. Will he? I mean, I guess I don't know, but I think it would be a good idea. He's a 30-plus goal guy. There's obviously something there. He's found a way to score 7 goals already this season, which I know is not the production a lot of people were hoping for when the Oilers signed him to that deal, but a guy who can pop in at a 15-goal pace with most of them or all of them coming at 5v5 in your bottom 6, that's a good asset. So I think he has skill. I'd love to see him get a more, a semi-permanent look in the top 6 just so they can find out what they have.
When you look at the Oilers, and last night was terrible 10 minutes, and after that they played pretty well, but they had a really bad 10 minutes and gave up 3 goals and kind of forgot how to protect the house in front of the net. And those games will happen. Heck, Vegas got shut out at home to the Islanders last night. Toronto got walloped. Marner and Matthews were -6. It's kind of been an odd NHL season since the Christmas break, with some of the bottom feeders beating the top teams on a regular basis. So nothing's guaranteed, but I expect Edmonton to probably play like they did for the final 50 minutes in Chicago and have much more success. So that leads to my next question. Noah Philp, give me a game that Noah Philp, because it's not if, it's when. Noah Philp is coming up. Mark my words. So when is your prediction that he comes up?
That is a great question. I mean, we're assuming everyone stays healthy, because obviously if there's an injury, I think Noah Philp's probably the guy to cover for a centerman if they were to get hurt. I'll say the Oilers call him up immediately coming out of the Four Nations break. He'll get the 22nd against Philadelphia. Again, let him play in Bakersfield during that time for as long as he needs to, although I know their All-Star break is somewhere around that time. But let Noah Philp play a ton down in Baco while the Oilers are off. Call him up for the 22nd. That'll give you 4, 5, 7 games from then. No more, 9 games from then until the trade deadline, I believe. No, it's 6. Jesus, I can't count very well. You know that. But it'll be 6 games from them until the deadline. And again, it's about getting answers to things, right? If Noah Philp comes up and looks really good as a centerman for 6 games leading up to the deadline, and you go, okay, maybe we can trust him here, then maybe you don't need to go spend a lot of assets on a centerman. Maybe then it does get more tempting to go add a winger to the mix if you feel like you can trust Noah Philp or some combination of Philp and Janmark as your 4C. But I think they'll keep him down until the Four Nations break. Do you agree?
Oh, no, I think he's up before the end of the month.
Really?
I think they want to find out what they have before the break, because otherwise you only got 6 games to look at him before the deadline. I don't think it's enough. So I think he comes up at some point either before or during the 6-game homestand. They got 3 games against playoff teams, 3 games against non-playoff teams. So you can give him a mix of both, while also protecting him, but you'll get a good chance. Because I was told by lots, you probably need close to 10 games to find out what you have from Philp. Now, if you know he doesn't have it, you'll find out that pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Philp is, in scouting reports, myself and talking to people, he skates well enough. He shoots well enough. He's big enough. He can, can he win faceoffs at the NHL level? That's a question you don't know until you see him. And then, does he have the decision-making? Because in the NHL, you got to make decisions quicker in the AHL. It's just how it is. The speed's different. So he's smart enough, but can you do it consistently? So that's why I think they want to know before the break rather than come out. Because after the break, you have 13 days before the trade deadline. I don't think it's enough time to know. So I think he'll be up before the end of the month.
I'm all for that if that is the case. I agree. I think he should have been up here earlier if I had a say in it. And He was 48.3% in his first 3 games here. It's not, terrible, but that's such a small sample size with a stat like face-off percentage that you really don't know. I know Janmark's a little bit lower down than that, but even he hasn't taken a ton of draws since he's been moved to center, only 60 or something like that. So yeah, again, get answers to these questions. Don't go spend a 3rd round pick on a 4th line center before you know for sure what you have in Noah Philp. Don't go spend a 2nd round pick on a scoring winger until you know for sure that Jeff Skinner doesn't work up there.
Hey, Tyler, it's Wanye from work. I guess my question is, how are you doing and what are your plans tonight? I'll hang up and listen.
What are my plans? I'm going bowling tonight.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, for real.
Where are you going?
I think whatever the place is in the mall. So shout out to bowling. It's still a great activity. Got to get the arm loosened up. Do you have a hockey question?
No, I don't actually.
I do. Last year when Chris Knobloch took over, Darnell Nurse, from when Paul Coffey joined the team, from November right up until the All-Star break, he played really well. Then he came out of the All-Star break, not so good. So Darnell Nurse has been the Oilers' best defenseman through the first 41 games. Since November 1st, Darnell Nurse has been one of the best defensemen in the league. He's got the 6th best goals against per 60. He's top 10 in goal for percentage. He's played excellent. So can Darnell Nurse continue it in the second half?
Can he continue to play very good? Yes. Can he continue to do the numbers that you just throw out, suggesting, one of the better defensemen in the NHL for the last bit? I don't know if he's got that in him consistently, especially, and I know they're playing him with Brett Kulak a lot, but I'll believe in this if they can get him a super high-end partner, and who knows, maybe they don't end up going down that route, but it's great to know Darnell Nurse has this in him. I don't think he can keep this level up and put together a full 82-game season of this. I think we're going to get a slump at some point from Darnell Nurse, but just the fact that he's reminded the fan base that he's capable of this, I think is just such a breath of fresh air. One, it's calmed down all of the constant whining and moaning about his contract, which is great. And it's reminded people that, yes, maybe he isn't a $9 million defenseman, never will be, but all the people who were like, he's barely an NHL defender, this is proving them that they are wrong. So this little run through the first half has been amazing to watch for Darnell Nurse. It's brought a smile to my face seeing all of the haters had to eat it for a little bit. Do I think he can keep up this level, considering that he kind of plays with Kulak a bit and then it's Brown for a bit and they kind of just throw everything around? I'm not convinced he can keep it up for a full 82, but the fact this is there, if you can go out and make an Ekholm-style trade for the right side, which is what Saravalli's been saying for the last couple of days that the Oilers want to try and do, and that's the kind of swing they're going to take, then, man, Nurse with that kind of a partner, and then Bouchard with Ekholm, you're starting to look at an Oilers top 4 that's no longer a, can they win in spite of this blue line? It's like, whoa, that's a legit Stanley Cup back end.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm looking, man. Like you tell me the right shot equivalent of Matthias Ekholm, right? Because that means multiple years left in his deal. Because there's definitely nobody who's a penny UFA, and guy with 1 year, probably the best one is Anderson in Calgary, and I don't think there's any chance Calgary trades him to Edmonton. So I agree that's what they'd like to do, but the list is pretty short of right D-men that can do it. Doesn't mean it's impossible. And I'm not even sure the guy's available today because Ekholm wasn't available 2 months before the deadline when they pulled that deal.
Yeah. The guy I keep going to, and he was on Frank's trade target board earlier in the year, then he was taken off, but it's Mike Matheson in Montreal. If you can convince them to trade him, I know he's a left shot, but he is very, very good at playing the right side. He is a much better defender than he gets credit for. I was chatting with my friend John Goyens. He was a coach in the QMJHL. Now he works on the Canadiens broadcast, and he agreed that Matheson would be a dream fit for the Oilers next to Darnell Nurse. He can skate, he can move the puck, and he is a very good defender, and he is more than capable of playing the right side. He's been doing it on a full-time basis this year. If you can get that guy, I think, again, 1 more year on his deal as well, $4.2 million cap hit, somewhere in that range. You can afford them. If you just got to get Montreal to be willing to give them up, and they're playing good right now. The other one that is an absolute pipe dream, like I'm talking 0.5% chance this guy's ever available. But if you can ever convince Boston to do something really dumb, trading Brandon Carlo would be dumb. But if you can convince them, I mean, that would be a guy too. Term, young, right shot, elite penalty killer.
Yeah. I think Boston now to do it though. I think the Bruins are going to want. They're going to want some, like, I wonder if Vancouver and Boston can't find a way to make a trade because Boston, they need a center bad. We all know they need a center. And if Vancouver is actually going to trade one of their centers, and by the way, Elias Pettersson was activated for my IR, he's going to play. But if they're going to move one of them, I got to think that Sweeney and the Bruins are going to be calling. It makes a lot of sense. And they got, what does Vancouver need? They desperately need a good defenseman. Lindholm, Carlo, one of those two could be a major part of a deal like that.
Yeah, they do have a lot of money. Like they have 4 guys with serious term on the blue line. So a blue liner going the other way and a big trade like that would make sense. And I guess that's kind of the tough part for the Oilers. If you're dealing with a team like Boston who's trying to shake up their roster, you really don't have that on your NHL roster right now piece that you can kind of throw back the other way, right?
Yeah, that's definitely what they lack a little bit. What's your expectations tomorrow against the Chicago Blackhawks, who will be playing their 3rd game in 4 nights, second half of a back-to-back?
Yeah, second half of a back-to-back. We'll see. I'm not sure what they're doing with their goaltending tonight, so I guess we'll see if the Oilers are avoiding Peter Mrazek, although Soderblom actually has the better numbers between the two this year, so maybe that's not much of a factor, but I don't know. I don't think the Oilers are capable of coming out of the gates as bad as they were against Pittsburgh 2 games in a row. And I know Chicago beat them earlier in the year, but still, the Oilers played really good in that game. I think if you look by the expected goals for, that was actually one of Edmonton's better games, controlling the pace of play and the possession in a game. So I think the Oilers are going to blow them out tomorrow night. I don't mean to sound overly homerish or whatever, but I think Edmonton's probably a little bit irked at how they played against Pittsburgh. And I think Chicago's a team that isn't capable of playing 2 or 3 consecutive good hockey games. They played great against Colorado the other day, but on the second of back-to-backs, I think the Oilers will have their number.
Ty, have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll chat with you next week.
Yep, sounds good. See you, Greg's.
That's Tyler Remchuk from Oilers Nation and Daily Faceoff. When we return, it is a big night for Connor McDavid. He'll have his jersey retired in Erie. We will talk to his billet father next on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta, new players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet every week all season long. Visit PlayAlberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
When picking a New Year's resolution, try to avoid things you have no influence over.
Like bringing home the cup? That would be awesome.
But completely outside your control. Instead, pick something you can control, like bringing home some Wilhauk beef jerky.
That would also be awesome. But what if we brought the cup home to Canada and it was filled with Wilhauk beef jerky?
Okay, I'll allow it.
Wilhauk beef jerky, only available in Leduc. Get yours today, because you don't win cups with salad.
We've finished construction of our gamma radiation containment facility. Is it up to code? Is it going to be safe?
Sounds like a job for the men and women of Action Electrical.
Testing team reporting. We test your commercial operations using tools like infrared to ensure safe operation. Trust us to prevent potential calamity before it strikes.
Facing an electrical menace? Call the men and women of Action. Operating throughout Alberta at actionelectrical.net.
90 days? You're telling me I can buy a 2024 or 2025 Buick or GMC from Wolf GMC Buick and make no payments for 90 days? Whoa. And you're telling me there's more? It's the final days of GMC's employee pricing on remaining 2024 Sierra HDs and Yukons? Clearly now is the time to buy a new vehicle. I'm heading to Wolf GMC Buick, corner of 184th Street and Stony Plain Road. It's mere seconds east of the Anthony Henday.
Wolf GMC Buick. We're making it easy.
If you live or work in the country, you need your water well in top condition. Wash away any doubt with Caliber Drilling. Experts in residential and industrial water well services with over 20 years experience and a team of dedicated journeyman drillers, plumbers, and electrical technicians. Need a new water well or work done on your existing well? Keeping you well maintained and well serviced is their #1 priority. Financing is available. Visit caliberdrilling.com for a complete list of all drilling services or call 780-960-2992.
Diablo Boots in Canada West, the 2 best names in work, biker, and western boots. Diablo has been selling quality Canadian boots for over 60 years, from size 6E to 15EE. Why buy boots made in China like Erie, Redwing, and Dakota when Diablo Boots has the best quality for less? Made in Winnipeg. Plus, all of Diablo boots have replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So save on boots by Save on Foods. That's Diablo Boots. 3340 Gateway Boulevard on the east side of Save-On Foods.
Adventure just doesn't stumble into your life. It roars to life with Riverside Motorsports. Tearing up trails or cruising the open road. Yamaha ATVs, side-by-sides, motorcycles, and dirt bikes deliver the performance you crave. Built for thrills, ready for your next adventure. Yamaha's legendary performance and reliability take you there. Make Mother Nature your playground on a Yamaha from Riverside Motorsports. Located on St. Albert Trail. RideRiverside.com. Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Use promo code Gregor and get 20% off your order all day, every day at papajohns.ca.
The Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.345. Welcome back. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz with you. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Hope you're having a lovely Friday. Of course, Oilers, they will regroup against the Chicago Blackhawks. You know what I like? I think most fans recognize it was a bad 10 minutes. It's not a poor performance. You don't have to jump off a cliff. You know, oh my goodness. Right? The vast majority are like, yeah, they're not going to win every game. And you know, you didn't mind their effort in the final 50 minutes. It was just the first 10 that was brutal. So when you're 15-3-1 in your previous 19 games, I don't know if you get a free pass per se, but yeah, there's no reason to go crazy over it. And they did get some help because Vegas lost. They didn't lose any ground in the race for first place in the Pacific Division. And it's halfway through the year. It's shaping up like a great race. Vegas 6 points up. LA's 2 back of Edmonton, but the Kings got 3 games in hand, and the Oilers play the Kings 3 more times, including next Monday at home, then twice in April, and they face the Golden Knights 1 more time on April Fool's Day. We do have lots of texts coming in, 833-401-1440, 833-401-1440. Hey, guys, do you think Nashville will look to consider moving Roman Josi? It came out of nowhere to do Ekholm from Jose Squared. Well, if, and I'd say it's a big, and I think very small chance. But hey, you never know, man. Like, not many people thought Matthias Ekholm was going to be coming available, but Matthias Ekholm's not Roman Josi. So I would say very, very slim chance. But if Josi became available, there'd be lots of teams lining up to do it. Now, he makes $9.5 million. The Oilers, if you're trading Josi, well, then you're trading Bouchard and some other guys to make it happen. And, you know, and now I know people are like, I trade Josi for Bouchard all day long. Is Roman Josi a better all-around defenseman? Yes. He's older, but I'd still, you know what? I'd still probably make that trade just because he's better all-around defenseman, right? But Bouchard is an elite offensive defenseman. Make no mistake about it. And he, it's going to be fascinating for me to see what his contract will be. It's still going to be high. Like, make no mistake about it. Right. And the other thing is, in talking to 2 agents and actually an NHL executive, that if he goes to arbitration, and because I guarantee you they'll file. Now, filing and going are 2 very different things. But if he goes to arbitration, I was told that the arbitrators look at playoff success as a big deal in arbitration. And Bouchard's playoff success has been off the charts good. Like it or not, it's off the charts good. And he's being a better all-around defenseman in the playoffs. So it's going to be a big number. Make no mistake, it is going to be a big number. Now, speaking of big, it's going to be a big event tonight where Connor McDavid, back in Erie, where his junior career, where he starred for the Erie Otters, and they are retiring his jersey tonight, obviously, this was something that was planned. They look at the order schedule and they make it work, and he'll be there. And a gentleman who probably knows Connor way better than most was his billet father for many years in Erie. And of course, Bob Cataldi and his family, they were there at Connor McDavid's wedding. They've had a very close relationship ever since. He'll be in attendance tonight, and he joins us now. Bob, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, guys. I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
Bob, billet families, my brother was billeted out. I've had lots of other friends whose kids get billeted out, and man, they rave about the importance of a billet family. When you billeted the first time, and you had 3 children of your own, 2 girls at the time who were 14 and 12, and you had a young son who was 8, you guys had never been billet families before. So kind of take us through the process of why you decided to do it and maybe kind of how it went.
So, yeah, I mean, I've explained this and told this story a few times in the last couple of days because it's an important one. The Erie Otters were looking for a family, and we had a mutual friend of Sherry Bassin, and I was involved with youth hockey, and I played hockey growing up, and my son played hockey, and I coached, and so they thought it might be a good opportunity for Connor to come live with us, and it was an idea at first. We had never billeted before. And then one day Sherry called me and said he wanted to come sit down and talk to me with Connor's agent and the Robbie Fatorik, who was the Otters coach at the time, and just kind of, I always say, vet me and my family to make sure that it was the right house and family for Connor. But as I've told the story many times, at some point I sort of switched things around and I turned it into vetting Connor because I was not interested in having some couple of teenage, boys with me, with my daughters growing up, unless they were the right type of kids. And it became very clear very quickly to me and my family that Connor and his family were sort of the exact type of fit that we would be looking for if we're going to bring somebody in. He was the most respectful, kind, considerate kid you can imagine. And at the same time, he was ridiculously dedicated to becoming the best hockey player in the world. People say that Connor's got a lot of God-given talent, which he does, but I don't know that people fully appreciate or understand just how hard he works too every day. And to see that out of a 15-year-old and then to watch him mature and grow right before our eyes, it was just a fantastic experience. And I'm literally talking to you right now from the bowels of the Erie Insurance Arena down in the basement, because we're getting ready to do the retirement ceremony, and we just met with the press and some VIPs, and I'm trying to collect some thoughts here before we get out on the ice and do the ceremony to raise his number up into the banner. It's just going to be a great night. Well, it will be. And Bobby, I love what you said about just his commitment. And the best people in most walks of life are the hardest workers. And it's all the work you do, especially in pro sports as athletes, away from the cameras. What they see on game day is kind of like the fun part and the finished result. But there's so much of it. And for him to come in, he was 15. You had a daughter 14, a daughter 12, and a son who was 8. And, for them to see his work ethic, have your kids, now that they're older, have they been like, you know what, Dad, that kind of helped us in a way to see his commitment and what it took to be great at something? I am exceptionally proud of my 3 children and what they've grown to accomplish. I've got a daughter that lives in Pittsburgh who's a speech pathologist. I've got another daughter that's works for the Cleveland Cavaliers organization and is a rising star with them. And I've got a son that's in college that's very successful and has done some good things playing hockey himself. And every one of them have used Connor as an example and as a role model of, what it means to sort of set some goals and to work exceptionally hard to reach those. And quite frankly, he made my wife and my job much easier, because as opposed to, just, pounding the pavement and telling them to do something, we had the best example and opportunity to set an example that lived with us. And so, yeah, I mean, Connor thanks us all the time and his family thanks us all the time, and that's great. And we're very appreciative, but we owe him a hell of a lot more thanks, quite frankly, than he owes us.
Now, Bob, we learned this year that, he's not a big fan of ketchup Was there any other things that you remember kind of as you got to know him? And it's a unique situation to welcome someone into your home, as a young player. It's hard on both people at times, but then and a lot of billet player relationships turn out to be fantastic for a lot of players. I know that they're still friends with their billets many years later, but you have some kind of funny things you remember of kind of getting to know Connor McDavid, the person, not the player.
Yeah, ketchup and spiders were the two things that he wanted to run from. And we have a finished basement that he lived in. That was sort of his room. And every once in a while, one of those critters would find its way down there. But that's how we kept him on his toes. So, no, listen. He, as I've said 100 times, I mean, I would yell at my kids to be more as considerate as Connor. Bring your food plates up to the table and into the dishwasher, and bring your clothes up when it's time so they can be washed and all that. He would do all of that. He never had to be told any of that. He was just and better than that. And again, that's sort of trivial. I mean, more than that, you alluded to the fact that you end up becoming friends. Well, we really have become, I would like to consider lifelong friends. He invited us to his wedding, which was fantastic. And we've gotten to know his family very well, and they're just great people. And I preach to my kids all the time. Life is about building relationships, and the fact that we've been able to have this relationship with the McDavids, and now to get to know his wife, Lauren, and she's fantastic and everything. It's just been overall just an unbelievable experience. I don't know how else to say it. I'm almost at a loss for words. It's really been that good.
Bob Cataldi joins us. He was Connor McDavid's billet father. His whole family welcomed it in. And, of course, tonight Connor will have his jersey retired. And I talked to Connor about it last week. He's pretty excited about it. Like, it's a big honor. I know you're still on the board for the Erie Junior Otters hockey organization. This is a big night for everybody. Like, you got the best player in the world coming back, and he gets to say thank you, and the fans get to say thank you again. Can you kind of put it into words and maybe describe just kind of the feeling here, build up here the last few weeks in Erie for this ceremony this evening?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know if people are too familiar with Erie. We're kind of like a big little city, but the place is going crazy. I mean, we've got security out front, unbelievable right now. The arena, there's people outside. There's hour-long specials on television. There's an unbelievable amount of merchandise with 97 all over it. They've got his name and number on the ice. They've got so many things going on. And look, he deserves, I mean, I tell people all the time, before Connor came here, the Otters, were obviously, it's a OHL junior program's fantastic, right? But, we didn't have such a good arena. We didn't have such a good team. Connor comes here and creates an entire new fan base. Casual fans became big fans. Fans that weren't fans of hockey or junior hockey at all quickly became fans. And so for Erie and the impact that he's had on this community, for us to have, what many people, and certainly me, consider to be the greatest hockey player in the world, to come through Erie, Pennsylvania, and this barn, this arena, and to create what he did here, and to do it with such, grace and sort of just that right professional approach, even as a young teenager, has just been incredible.
Yeah, well, he's a lot of people have seen Connor McDavid, and for somebody who has that much pressure on him, although I know he puts a ton on himself, but like the expectations, Bob, were amazing. And I'm sure, I read an article, one of your coach, you talked about, man, I had friends who didn't really understand hockey, but they wanted to come watch him. And I didn't even have to tell them who it was. Within the first period, they're like, oh, geez, that guy's kind of different, right? Like it was so noticeable. And with that comes a lot of expectations. And he was always he was much more mature than he had to be. And maybe that's unfair, but he just had to grow up a lot sooner than most teenagers.
Well, that's the thing that a lot of people don't really appreciate either, is that, yeah, he's a superstar, and yeah, he's a fantastic human being, but he had an incredible amount of challenges that most of us never have to deal with, and not just as a 15, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old now, and how he has to handle himself and the difficulties that come with all of this, and he's been so good about that. And, I've said this so much. He is, he's so focused and he's so determined, and he's pretty good about trying to keep the noise away from him. He's always been good at that and just stay focused on his goals. but somehow he managed to do that with a lot of professionalism, and I think he's just gotten a lot of that from his parents. But I can tell you, there's no doubt in my mind that, he's focused on winning, and I certainly know all he cares about at this point is to bring a cup to Edmonton. And if, knock on wood, I'm sitting on a bench and I'm literally knocking on it as we speak, if it gets far again this year, which we all fully anticipate, we're going to be out there, watching him bring the cup home. So that's his biggest concern at this point. There's no doubt about it.
Bob, did you get to Edmonton last year during the playoff run? I know you got to Florida for one of the cup games, but did you experience the atmosphere in Edmonton last year or in one of the previous years?
No, unfortunately, we weren't able to get there for the playoffs. We've been there before for games, but my schedule at work wouldn't allow it. And unfortunately, I wanted to get to Game 7, and I couldn't swing that either, which I was very disappointed about. But we were able to get some games in Florida. So this year, I don't care what my work schedule is. If they have in Edmonton, I'm going to take a sabbatical and get out there for a little bit with my wife and kids.
Well, Bob, I know tonight's going to be a very proud moment for you, emotional for everybody. Huge time for the small, big city of Erie. Enjoy that. Have fun, and thanks so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.
Hey, it was my pleasure, and thank you guys for having me, and go Oilers.
That is Bob Cataldi, the billet father for Connor McDavid. And you listen to it. So Bob, of course, so Connor McDavid comes to his family. He's 15 years of age. And at the time, he had daughters Casey and Cameron, who were 14 and 12, and their son Nico was 8. And I know the relationship with Nico is Connor has been on the ice with Nico's teams. He would sneak back in sometimes later on. Even when he's in the NHL, he came back there, especially the year he got hurt. His first year as a rookie, he had lots of extra time on his hands. But over the time, he'll sneak in to watch some of his games. He goes in his side door. It's like a little brother, right? And the sisters, they have a very close relationship. And I think a lot of people out there who have spent multiple years with the Billet family, it becomes it's a very important. I know when my nephew went to Moose Jaw, his parents went and they introduced, you kind of interview the Billet family to kind of know where they're at. Now they were lucky because Brett Howden, who was the same age as Noah, they both went there together because they had actually been the Billet family for Brett's older brother many years earlier. And they'd true story. When Brett was visiting, he was 14, and he's like, "Hey, if I ever get drafted by Moose Jaw, will you guys be my Billet family?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, Brett." Not even thinking what are the chances? And guess what? He got drafted a few years later, and then they're like, "Oh, God, we made the deal." And so, they had the experience of being a Billet family before, and they've actually had Dylan McElrath. They had every 4 kids that they billeted all played in the NHL at some point, which is crazy. And it was, and they had kids that were older. But it's a big thing to kind of, put your trust in someone else that, they're going to have good morals and, raise your family. Because sadly, there's been the odd case. I've heard some very weird stories, but 99% of them are very good. But that's a big commitment. Ask any parent to see your young son at 16 years of age, 17 years of age, move away from home.
For Connor to be that collected too, that young with that much pressure, just speaks to his character. He's got to be pretty rare that you're 15, 16, 17 years old and never take a night off as a teenage boy and cause drama. But it sounds to me like he kept it pretty buttoned down the entire time, didn't it, Gregor?
Well, that's today's players now, right? But he's ultra focused. If you want to be great at anything, you have to. There's a sacrifice. Who was it? Was just on After Hours. Shane Pinto. It was on After Hours. Anyway, he's doing a long form interview, and he talked about how basically from the age of 15, he goes, "I didn't really have a life." And I think a lot of people, that's why I'm always hesitant when I hear people they're so focused on their 9, 10, and 11-year-olds, and they're putting all this pressure and all this resources. And I said, you don't know if your child wants to make the commitment, because it's a massive commitment with no guarantee. Because there's lots of kids, 97% of kids in major, junior, and the WHL don't play in the NHL. And lots of them are committed, right? They're all giving up their lives and they don't get there. So, it's great and you learn from it, but it's not hey, if I do this, I'm automatically going to be an NHLer. Now, McDavid's an exception. There's a few guys who are okay, they're going to be there, but lots who aren't. And it's something you don't know that the person has until they turn that age. All of a sudden, maybe they like girls, or maybe they get more interested in music or cars, or go down the list of, or maybe they're just you know what? I don't want to work out all the time and have to go to bed at 10 o'clock and never get to go to a party or out with my friends very often. Because trust me, that's how it is, right? It's, I shouldn't say you never go to a party, but it's very rare. Like your life is different. And you don't know if your kids are really committed to that or not until they're old enough, until they're actually in it.
I wonder when Connor started turning into Connor. Like, if he was like this when he was 15, was he that serious when he was 12? Was he that serious when he was 10? Like, at what point did he wake up one morning and be like, I don't want to watch cartoons. It's time to go shoot pucks against the wall.
Yeah, it's a good question. By sounds of it from a young age, like he was just, that's what he loved doing, right? Like when you're passionate about something, then it's not work, right? And it's a fun thing, but you got to be into it all the time. And nowadays, like you have to be, not only you got to have great skill and a high work ethic, you got to have some luck and be healthy. And then you just got to have a work ethic that's extremely high. So, those who make it to the NHL are blessed. And there's lots in the American League and playing in Europe that have put in the exact same commitment and just didn't make it. And so I applaud all those too. Quick break. Let's get to the Common Sports 1440 update brought to you by Fountain Tire. Get where you need to go this winter with the mid-winter tire clearance sale at Fountain Tire. You can save up to 20% off all in-stock winter tires, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings right now at fountaintire.com.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
5 games on the ice tonight at the NHL level. Gets going at 5 o'clock as the Blackhawks take on the Red Wings. Of course, the Hawks will host the Oilers tomorrow in Chicago. You also have the Canadiens and Caps, Canucks in Carolina, Jets taking on the Kings, and Utah hosting the San Jose Sharks in the Association. Warriors in Indiana. The Bucks travel to Orlando. Sixers will host the Pelicans. Thunder take on the Knicks, and the Celtics hosting the Sacramento Kings. Edmonton Oil Kings in action this evening down at Rogers Place. They'll take on the Prince Albert Raiders. Puck drop 7 o'clock in the BCHL Spruce Grove and Sherwood Park meeting out at Grant Fuhr Arena at 7. In the AJ Olds in Devon, and Moore meets Cam Rose. Jerem Heller up against Calgary and Drayton Valley in Fort Mac. Golden Bears hockey in Calgary taking on the Dinos at 7. The Pandas will host the Dinos down at Clara Drake. That also gets going at 7 o'clock. You got wrestling at the U of A main gymnasium this weekend with the Bears and the Pandas. Also, Bears and Pandas volleyball on the road taking on Lethbridge this weekend. College football playoff tonight. Cotton Bowl, number 5 Texas takes on number 8 Ohio State. That's a 5:30 kickoff. And the Sony Open in Hawaii. Right now, atop the leaderboard, you've got Kenzei Hirata at 9 under par. Lee Hodges, Sepp Straka, and Zach Johnson all 8 under. As for Canadians, Nick Taylor leading the way at 6 under. Adam Svensson -5. Adam Hadwin 4 under par, and Ben Silverman is 3 under. Coming up in hour 3 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll be joined by Craig Button from the NHL on TSN and Ask 5 Questions. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440, Stingray Radio Station.
CKJR broadcasts from West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin.
Download the free Stingray music app and listen wherever you go.
Something just worked together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients. Better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20.
It's your last chance to shop Boxing Day deals with the Brick. Start your new year off right and save up to 40% off mattresses, up to $960 off sectionals, up to $600 off big screen televisions, and up to $300 off select kitchen appliances when you buy 3 or more. Plus, pick up a Queen Springwall Eurotop for the price of a twin. Some exclusions apply. See thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90 from Volvo of Edmonton, you'll have the versatility to take on whatever life throws at you. The new XC90, a luxurious SUV with seating for up to 7, boasts newly upgraded body and wheel design. It's the perfect choice to drive into the coming year. And right now, you'll save $4,500 and lease from 1.49% on all in-stock 2025 XC90s. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
We believe that great projects start from the ground up. Well, to be accurate, great projects start from the underground up. We're GS Construction, and from pipes to drainage systems, we're always laying the groundwork for a better future for Edmonton. While the month of January may be slow for some, GS Construction is gearing up for a busy year ahead, preparing to build, repair, and replace tons of infrastructure to keep your systems running smoothly. To find out more, including new job opportunities, visit gsconstruction.ca.
I'm Colin Livingston, president of Cantork. Since 2016, we've been at the forefront of hydraulic torque wrenches in Canada. I'm delighted to share our latest venture, in-house production for quicker turnaround, superior quality, and heightened versatility. Experience excellence at cantork.com.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Leading Edge Physio. The team in Old Strathcona have special training dedicated to reducing the impact of cancer care before, during, and after your diagnosis. From lymphedema to the management of fatigue and side effects of chemotherapy and radiation, they can help. Learn more at leadingedgephysio.com.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Which may
Just after 4 o'clock. Welcome back, Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz with you. Sports 1440, Oilers Nation, YouTube, Facebook, and X. How are you? Hoping you're having a lovely Friday afternoon. Oilers will be in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks tomorrow. Blackhawks are actually in Detroit tonight to take on the Red Wings. So Edmonton will actually be the rested team. It'll be a second half of a back-to-back tomorrow and third game in 4 nights. So a little bit of an advantage for the Oilers tomorrow. We got a lot of text line in 833-401-1440. Good text here from JR in Red Deer. Hey, fellas, the Islanders got a few defensemen in Pelech and Pollock. What do you think of those two guys? Well, Adam Pelech, actually teammate of Connor McDavid's for 2 years in Erie. I think he might have been the captain. I got to go back and look. He wasn't the captain. He was one of the longtime veterans. So he knows them there. Pelech is a solid defenseman, right? He's a left shot, though. So, there's that. Now, they got Ryan Pollock. He is good. I would, if you could get him, he shoots right. He would be the ideal guy. And looking at his contract situation, he has, what has he got? 5 years left. Like, he just committed to the Islanders. So it would take a lot to get him. He's 1 year younger than Ekholm was when he was acquired. Maybe 2. I have to look at how old Ekholm was, because Pollock's 30 right now. He would be ideal. 6.15 cap hit. And so keep in mind, when the Oilers to make that move, they traded out Tyson Barrie's salary. Now, the difference is with Evander Kane, $5 million in LTIR space that I fully expect they're going to be able to use now, because I don't think with the new news that came out today, he's going to be ready to go for the regular season. You know what? You don't have to add that much salary going back, but they're going to want something. So that's the challenge. Who does Edmonton have that they would want? They're going to want an NHL defenseman. It would probably have to be Emberson, right? Like, they're going to want something. And hey, trust me, you would probably give up Emberson to take Pollock. But the problem is, if you get Pollock at 6.15 and Bouchard's going to get a raise, that's where it's dicey, right? That's going to be the challenge. I love the theory behind it, but to make those numbers work, if you've got Nurse and you've got Ekholm and you've got Bouchard and you've got Pollock all on your defense core, I just don't know if they have enough money to do it past this year. But Pollock is a guy for sure. Like, that guy's got an absolute bomb of a shot. Good mobile defense. Like, him and Nurse as a D pair, they'd be really good. Pelech has got 4 years after this at 5.75, but he's the left shot D-man. So I'm not sure if he really fits as much because, he's better than his, you can't pay him 5.75 to be your third pair left D and then, play Kulak on your other side. Kulak. So, but yeah, the Pollock one's interesting. I looked at him before and I'm like, man, it's ideal. Do I think anything's doable? Do I think it's plausible? Probably not, sadly.
I just want to confirm that Tyson Barrie was also treated with Reed Schaefer for Matthias Ekholm, Gregor.
And a first rounder.
The heart of the franchise, Reed Schaefer.
Yeah.
My favorite Oiler that never played one game, even though I bought his jersey, Reed Schaefer. Those were tough times for some of us, Gregor.
He is Schaefer's actually had a pretty good year.
He's bouncing back.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good year for a young guy. And hey, going to the American League is no joke. The American League is he's unfortunately got hurt, but he was playing really well till he got hurt. He had, I think, 8 goals in 19 games so far this season.
We were just talking at the break about the benefit of players going to the AHL and getting a bunch of ice time versus staying in the NHL and maybe not playing as much. A guy like Reed Schaefer, it looks like a demotion for him to go into the AHL getting traded, but it might be the best thing for him.
Oh, hey, I don't know a player who did not benefit from playing in the American League. Anyone, let me know the name of the guy who's like, oh, the American League, brutal for him. I'll say this. I think there's lots of players who get put in the American League at 20 who could play junior and don't. Lots of them are... You know what? They get pounded on, and it is hard. And now, not saying that had they stayed at 20 and then went at 21 that they wouldn't have success, but it's just, I think something that gets overlooked a lot is when people talk about wanting to. You got to play against the best. You got like there's nothing left to learn at 20. Now, if you've been in the league for 4 years, okay, I can understand it. But you come in as a 16-year-old, maybe not. But there are some, especially for smaller players, that extra year of getting stronger, maintaining your confidence. And you know what? Especially if you're an offensive-minded guy who's never really had to be on the penalty kill or anything, you go back as a 20-year-old and get to learn to kill penalties where you can make mistakes because it's major junior. That's going to help you become a more versatile player at pro because the truth is 80% of the top 6 guys don't become top 6 players in the NHL because there's just not room for them.
Confidence plays such a big role in things too, right?
Dude, it's
being able to play in the AHL and get some points, get some power play time, get some goals.
Yeah. Hey, boys, no way the Oilers go get another scoring left winger. The needs are heavy already. They need a legit third-line ready center, a legit top 4 D-man, and another legit backup goalie. And Nick says Brossoit. Well, Brossoit isn't the legit backup goalie. Brossoit is banged up. He hasn't played all year. Pro Robber Matheson. Interesting. Montreal's right in a playoff spot right now. They're battling for a playoff spot. Now, Jake Evans is interesting because Jake Evans is having a career year. He's got like a 27 shooting percentage right now. Okay. And I get that if you're Jake Evans, you are trying to cash in on that this year, right? Because you're having a great year and you're like, man, this is where I can sign an extension and it's going to be awesome. He's actually at 28.6. I undervalue him. 28.6. He got 10 goals on 35 shots. 10 goals on 35 shots. Are you kidding me? It's unreal, right? Like Nick Suzuki has 12 goals for them, and he's got 78 shots. So, hey, good for Jake Evans. He's having an excellent year. He's basically their third-line center there. He'd be an unbelievable fourth-line center. But it's probably going to be a big ask right now. And I don't know if – now, it all depends on what the cost is. But for Jake Evans, I think right now the price would be pretty high. So that's what we'd have to see. But he makes it. I'll say this. I think McCarron in Nashville probably is going to cost you infinitely less. And size, big, can kill penalties. He's got one more year on his deal at only $900K. In theory, I think that one actually would make more sense because he gives you 2 kicks at the can for the one guy. And make no mistake, the Oilers... And Edmonton's not going to push all their chips in this year. I know some people out there are going to be screaming at me, what are you talking about? Edmonton wants to be a team, as Ken Holland said, you want to be able to take a run at it for the next few years. You don't want to give up all your assets. Like, could the Oilers go and get a defenseman and a winger and a center? Sure. and put a lot of their chips in, a lot of their chips meaning assets and picks and everything else. And then what happens next year, right? Like you don't have as many. So there's always that. And I think Edmonton's good. They'll make one or two tweaks. I don't think they have to do 3 or 4. And that's why, to me, Noah Philp, he's coming up after this road trip. Maybe even beforehand, but definitely sometime during that 6-game home. I want to see, because if I can get Noah Philp, who's 6'3", skates really well, shoots, is physical, kills penalties. Now, I don't know if he can win faceoffs at the NHL. He's winning faceoffs in the American League, but it's obviously better centers. If he can show you the ability to think the game and see the plays and make the plays at the higher speed of the NHL, man, that's a huge find. And now you don't have to give up any assets to get your fourth line center because he's right there. And yes, he's a rookie, but he's a 26-year-old rookie. He's not a 21-year-old rookie. He's got man strength, got all that stuff. He's probably a little bit more, a little calmer at 26 than you are at 21 for the most part. And that's I just think from an asset management, you have to find out if you think he's a decent option. And you won't know unless you give him 8, 10, 12 NHL games.
With Draisaitl signing his big contract, do you think the window for the Cup is the entirety of that deal? Or how long? Like I was watching Pittsburgh last night, looking at old Sidney Crosby and thinking, geez, what years are going to be for Connor when he's Sid's age? How big is the window for the Oilers?
It's a good question. Like you look, so Sidney Crosby came in the league in 2006, and then he won a cup. He won a cup 12 years after he was drafted, right? So that would still be, this is 10 years for McDavid, so 2 more. But I'll say this with Pittsburgh was they got older and they never really brought up any younger guys in that. So I think Edmonton, now, no offense to Sidney Crosby, I think Connor McDavid's window of greatness is higher. He's been a higher points per player, everything. He's, and Draisaitl, same thing. Malkin was elite though, don't get me wrong. But I look at the players nowadays, even Crosby, because it's 10 years. The gap 10 years ago from McDavid till now is guys play longer, better. Like look at Sidney Crosby. He's now his supporting cast stinks, but his play's pretty damn good. And if McDavid's ceiling was higher, I think Connor McDavid, you got 7 or 8 years. Now, there's going to be some years where, okay, Zack Hyman starts to slow down. They have to find ways to do what Washington's doing right now, where Washington just won a cup recently, last 6 years, and they got older, but they were able to replace those guys with good 2nd and 3rd round picks and some late 1st rounders, right? Like look at Connor McMichael, right? Like they got a lot of young prospects. Now the prospects haven't played there yet. I get it. But they're trending. Some of them are going to play. They're not all going to play, but some of them are going to play. They've done a really good job of scouting. That's what Edmonton, O'Reilly, maybe Bo, some of their guys here have to, in 3 or 4 years, be players that can contribute. And if that happens, then your window can stay longer. But if you give away all your picks or you make poor picks, eventually it catches up to you. And even if Draisaitl and McDavid are good, they're not going to be, I think, in 10 years, 130 or 140 point players. They might be only 100-point players, which is still pretty good. You know what I mean? But they're not, because Sid, what did he have? 94 points? 94 points here just when he was 35. So I don't think it's outlandish to think that Connor McDavid could be a 100-point player when he's 35. That's not going to surprise me at all, right? He might even be more than that, but they're going to have to ensure that they get like Matt Savoy. Don't rush him. Maybe Matt Savoy in 3 years is like a 55 or 60-point player in the NHL. Well, that's really good then. Then that's an excellent top 6 forward. Because they're going to need someone like, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, right? Those guys, because they don't have the elite level of McDavid and Draisaitl. When they start to slow down, it's much more noticeable, right? You get into this 50% range where McDavid slows down. He's still at 90% of the, his 90% is probably better than most players in the league. That allows him to stay great. So to answer your question, I think if they're healthy, Edmonton's probably got like a good, I would argue that their cup window started a few years ago because they were competitive, being very competitive. And now this is year 3 of it. They probably got 6, 7 more. I would think.
If they're still putting up 100-point seasons in 10 years, what a world.
Yeah. Hey, boys, what about Stenlund? Well, I like Stenlund, but I think he's too expensive in Utah, right? Edmonton just doesn't have the cap space for a 4th-line center to make, what does he make? 2.3, 2.4 is what Stenlund makes. Actually, no, he's only 2, but still. Yeah, I'd like, hey, man, if you could get Stenlund from Utah, sign me up. I loved what he did for them. He is a perfect fourth line center. But Utah, they're right on the edges of being a playoff team right now. And they're in a new market. I don't know if they're going to be a big seller. I think they're kind of like, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a small addition just to say, hey, like, let's try to stay here. I think it'd be good for them. 4:20 when we come back, Craig Button will join us. We will, and by the way, Gregor, you talked about the -6. Who are the other teammates? So that there was two of them in this century. Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews are now the third set of teammates to each be -6. Not combined to be -6. No, Marner was -6 last night. Matthews was -6 last night. You had Kovalchuk and Heatley as teammates in 2003 with Atlanta. They got spanked. They were both -6 against Ottawa. And then in 2021, only 4 years ago, Travis Sanheim and Philip Meyer each were -6 in a game against the New York Rangers. The only player this century worse plus-minus in one game, Chris Butler, -7. And when the Flames lost 9-0 to Boston in 2012. That was the night that TJ Brody played 25 minutes and was even. Didn't get scored on. It was a tough night for the Flames, except TJ Brody. Like, honestly, if you're TJ after that game, you're like, God, I played unreal. Like, I played 25 minutes. We lost 9-0. I wasn't even on the ice for one goal. Crazy. We'll return on the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
Some things just work together. Sticks and pucks, cleats and AstroTurf. Your love for the game and Papa John's passion for better ingredients. Better pizza. Nothing pairs with the game like Papa John's. Crafted with signature sauce, toppings, and original fresh dough. They're the champion of pizza. And now you're the champion of winning deals. Just order at papajohns.ca. Use promo code SPORTS20 and score 20% off any regular menu price order. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. That's SPORTS20. A premier hockey solution with a clear path for long-term development is proud to be entering its 8th season of independent borderless hockey, featuring provincial and cross-province competition with showcase-style regular season gameplay and a strong commitment to individual skill development. It's an attractive option for those seeking family life balance. The Hockey Super League offers opportunities for both male and female athletes born between 2012 and 2017. Visit hockeysuperleague.com for more information.
You got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939, we're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. Every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply. Bringing every project to life requires the right team. By joining the Japa Machinery Group service or sales teams, you can be part of setting a new industry standard. Celebrating a legacy of excellence with Japa. Learn more at japamachinery.com.
Day or night, tasting just so right. You can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca, delivering you the news almost right away. Remember, you can order oodle noodle at oodlenoodle.ca. So stay on your couch all day and order oodlenoodle.ca. Oodle noodle.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Cantork. We offer sale, rental, repair, and calibration of hydraulic, pneumatic, and battery-powered torque wrenches, stud tensioners, and flange maintenance equipment. Order today at cantork.com.
The Jason Gregor Show. The best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Positive Friday continues on. Welcome back. You heard of PlayAlberta.ca. It's Lotto Max. $40 million. Good luck. PlayAlberta.ca. Also, the Elks, they finalized their coaching staff. I tweeted out earlier in the week that it was there, and that coaching staff came official today. Also, Dylan Mitchell has been released by the Green and Gold, which is not a huge surprise to me when you consider contracts. And Ed Hervey, who is a receiver himself, has always said he feels you can find receivers. You got to be a good scout, but you can find receivers. And so they'll look to get some of those. They've obviously got a few guys in-house that they like, but Dylan Mitchell will be a free agent. And they gave him an opportunity to let him go free now rather than just wait. So, a little bit earlier. So now he's kind of can get the jump on free agency for other teams. Let's go in the room, brought to you by Action Electrical. Building owners can earn a refundable federal tax rebate up to 30% off a solar project's capital costs. So find out more. It's called the ITC. Learn about it at actionelectrical.net. As Stanley Cup winner, the Dallas Stars, longtime NHL GM and scout, now ace analyst and scout for TSN, Craig Button, joins us. Butts, how you doing?
I am good, Jason. How are you doing on this Friday, January the 10th?
Buddy, I'm good. It's a good day. It's, you know what? Hey, weather's nice here. There's lots going on in the sporting world. And right now, like the NHL it's a fun time if you like unpredictability, because the bottom feeders are beating the top teams like crazy ever since Christmas break. It's a little odd. I think it eventually will sort itself out a bit, but it's a reminder that any given night, some teams can win. We saw the Islanders going to Vegas and they never lose at home and they got shut out. The Oilers had a brutal first 10 minutes in Pittsburgh and they couldn't rebound, even though they controlled the last 50 minutes of that game. The Maple Leafs, who have been really good defensively, Marner and Matthews dashed 6 in that game where they led 2-0. And Nylander, I think, had 3 breakaways in the whole game and only scored once. Like, lots of craziness going on, Craig. So I want to ask you about the West. The West right now, to me, is where the best teams reside overall. You've got 7 of the top 9 records in the West. There's only one playoff spot I think that's going to be up for grabs: Vancouver, Calgary, and St. Louis. So I'll start there. When you've seen we're halfway point of the season, Canucks, Flames, we know the injuries, we know everything else, the Blues. Is there one of those teams you like better now to pick to make that 8th playoff spot?
Yeah, I felt all along that Calgary was going to have a lot of things go right for them to make the playoffs. They played well. They're competitive. They're in the hunt. Vancouver right now seems to be a team that's trying to find a place. And not a place amongst playoff teams, a place amongst themselves. What are they? I thought they played an excellent game in Washington on Wednesday night. They ended up losing in overtime. And if that's a sign of things to come, then that's a good sign for Rick Tocchet and the team. I think with Demko, by all accounts, going to play in Carolina tonight, and they go into Toronto tomorrow. Those are 2 good tests for Vancouver to just, what was Wednesday something that is a launch pad, so to speak, for them to be better. I just see a team that in Vancouver that I think is just a little bit more capable than St. Louis and the Calgary Flames at this point in time. But they've left the door open. They've left the door open for teams to hang around. And they have to discover their game, because if not, they're going to be scratching and clawing all the way down and near the end of the regular season to try to secure a playoff spot.
Yeah. The Vancouver situation, Craig, you've been in the GM chair, right? And, we're hearing all these things and the Canucks are struggling and what have you. Like, man, trading one of Miller or Pettersson is a really hard trade to make, because usually if you trade the best player, you lose the trade, right? Like you're like, God, if we can break even, this is a win, and that's hard to do in that. What do you make of that situation? And ultimately, do you see one of those guys getting moved? And do you think it's this year or next year or not in the near future?
Well, number one, Elias Pettersson has a full no move clause kicking in on July 1st. So I think, so that's a big factor here. So I think the first steps are for the Vancouver Canucks management group is to, what is the problem? How big the problem is? what are the solutions to whatever the problem is? And sometimes, as we saw today, and I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit, we saw it today out of Boston. There was these reports about Pasternak and Marchand, and they didn't just throw cold water on it. They threw ice cold water on it and basically said it's fabrication 100%.
Yeah.
So, Patrick Allvin and the group know where they're at. You first of all, you're trying to understand the problem. Number two, okay, what are the solutions? Now, you come to the point, if you're going to, listen, there will be no lack of teams that'll be interested in either one of those players. There'll be different types of deals. You're looking now at JT Miller, a real driver of play, Elias Pettersson with all his promise, albeit the last 100 games have not been very good. I mean, we're looking at basically a calendar year now where he hasn't been very good. Does that mean he can't be good? No, I think we all know he has skill. But if you make the decision that no, Elias Pettersson is part of our group, you can't move him, and you got to be really confident with that. You got to be really confident because you can't move him after July 1st. And I think that they can get a real significant return on either one of those players. And maybe the problem is more serious. You're going to have to find a way to move one of them. But the first steps is to understand, okay, who is the player that we want to identify as most important to our team? And that's where I think that's where the hard decision is. Once you get to that, I think now you go and try to make the best deal you can.
Craig Button from TSN joins us. The goaltending and maybe the injuries. I want to start in Toronto. It was a weird night. Marner and Matthews both -6. Craig, like, oh my goodness, you don't see that very often. That's only happened. That's the third time amongst teammates, each being -6 in this century, which is nuts. But how concerned are you in Toronto about the health? Like one goalie's healthy, then the other guy's injured, then the other guy's healthy, and both of them kind of have a history of that. Maybe it's a good thing because you're like, well, as long as one of them, or does this give you Carolina Hurricanes vibes that, oh my goodness, come crunch time, our goalies are going to be banged up?
Well, I think part of it is, Jason, and maybe not part of it, a significant part of it is what you just mentioned. There's a history here. There's a history of both of those goaltenders showing real capability, number one.
Yep.
Number two, being injured, and then having not been able to show that they can carry a significant workload. Those three things are all factual. And if you're going to ignore two of the most significant ones and just look at the capability, you very well could end up like the Carolina Hurricanes have. And I think for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think when both those guys are playing, having a tandem, it's an outstanding tandem. But Joe Wall has been unavailable for large stretches of time. Stolarz right now is unavailable. And if you're Brad Treliving, not if you're Brad Treliving, you're Brad Treliving, you have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that with respect to saying, okay, it's great when they're healthy. But based on what you know from their histories, can you count on them being healthy and thus being dependable and reliable to play in the net? Because that's the type of thing that can undermine a whole season.
Yeah, 100%. Craig, you've had now a week since the World Juniors wrapped up, and you look at Canada's situation, and it just didn't seem good from there. I know we talked about this a little bit last week, and the need to get the proper coach in and everything else. This is not like wait till the last moment. Like you can start planning now, as Hockey Canada, and then get those people in place to say, okay, let's not wait till the last minute here. Let's devise a plan. Right? Do you start now? It's been a week, you decompress. What would be the approach to ensure that next year the process is better?
Yeah, I think decompressing is the first step. You want to be able to have everybody be able to be open-minded about, okay, what did you see? What did I see? And that includes head coach Dave Cameron. Yeah, I think you have to include him in the debrief. Yeah, Dave, what were you thinking here? What were you thinking there? What would you thought differently? And that doesn't just go to the tournament. It goes all the way back to the summer showcase. Okay, what were you trying to do there? What what preconceived notions did you have there? And you got to just ask for straight honesty. And then you go through the selection process of the team. What were you looking for? But you heard me say this last week, and I'm not going to stop. They need familiarity. They need a coach that has familiarity with the players.
Yeah.
I think Gardner McDougall should be named the head coach right now. Now, there might be a process there. I mean, one of the things that Hockey Canada always has to do is they have to go through the vetting process on anybody involved. I get that. But Gardner McDougall's already coached the U18 team to goal. The majority of players are going to make up the World Junior team in 2026 are 2006 borns and 2007 borns.
Yep.
And he coached them. It's not about having information on the players. Dave Cameron had information on the players, but he didn't have familiarity with the players. Who played here, who played with who. And you're looking down at that bench and you're going, okay, I know that guy can handle it. I know, okay, I can put him here, I can put him there. And Dave was trying to find that out as were some of the other coaches. I think it's imperative that Hockey Canada goes through their coach selection process and says, we have to have familiarity. Probably straightforward. Name your next two coaches, Gardner McDougall, and you know we'll see. And Chris Millette is in the wings waiting. Now that you might allow Gardner McDougall to coach 2 years in a row, but Chris Millette will be the next guy because he's coached all these kids now at the Hlinka Gretzky.
Right.
So I need familiarity with my players. The tournament is too short, and that's what you need to do. You don't need a full-time coach.
No.
David Carl's not a full-time coach, but he had familiarity with the players.
Yeah.
I don't think Dave Cameron had the familiarity with the players. That's why they could never get cohesive. That's why they never got connected. And I think it's a big reason why they were they fell out in the quarterfinal. That team was capable. Nobody's going to tell me otherwise. 21 of the 25 players on that roster, Jason, had won with their club and or internationally playing for Team Canada, and in a lot of cases, multiple times. And we can debate this player or that player. I said it. Crystal and Parekh or Yakimchuk, one or the other, should have been on the team.
Right.
Because you need power play specialists, and they had 2 spots open for that, and they didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah. No, you're wrong, especially this year with the expanded roster, right? Like
that's what I mean. Yeah. Exactly.
For sure. That's where they should have done it. Looking at the Evander Kane situation in Edmonton, Craig, it seems much more likely now he's not going to be ready before the regular season's over. So that frees up, $5 million that weren't sure of. Could you use it? You put him in LTR and boom. Now I know they're using a small part of that right now with Josh Brown on the roster, but they've got now infinitely more flexibility. And I look at Stan Bowman and I look at the Oilers roster. I think we all know, okay, they want to upgrade one defenseman, ideally a second pair right D-man, fourth line center, which maybe comes from Noah Philp. Is there another area you think that I think they need some more physical, just grit on their team. I don't think they have enough playoff grit, right? Now, Kane might be ready for the playoffs, but we're not sure. Do you think they need more grit in your eyes?
Yeah, I'd go after Andy Gordon. That's who I'd go after. 2-time Stanley Cup champion, skate in your face, knows how to play when it's hard. I think could be a real significant influence on their team. David Savard might be a third pair right shot defenseman, another big, heavy player, and somebody that I think brings that grit and that heaviness. Those are I'm right with you. I am 100% with you. And everybody keeps saying fourth line center. I'd like to see Evander Kane coming back. Listen, Evander is going through his surgeries now with the knee. This is the best news for Evander Kane because he'll come back healthy, and for the Edmonton Oilers because they're going to have all kinds of room, and they're adding that big, heavy scoring winger in the playoffs that can play in your top six. And I think that's really important. Those are the areas I'll be looking at: heaviness, hardness, heaviness, hardness, heaviness, hardness. You're not winning with lightness in the playoffs.
Yeah. Quickly to the East, the wild card race, there's 8 teams because Boston's right in there. Ottawa, Columbus, greatest story in the NHL right now. The Montreal Canadiens are on fire. Great, the New York Rangers aren't out of it, for goodness sakes, in the Eastern Conference. It's more of a jog than I can say a race, but either way, there's lots of teams in the NHL. I'm sure Gary Bettman's loving it because there's so many teams realistically. Boston, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Ottawa, Montreal, Detroit, the Rangers, even the Islanders after their win last night, right? They're all within 5 points. Who do you like? If you had to pick today, which 2 teams are you most confident in?
You know what that's like, Jason? You know, it's like going down to the racetrack, right? And you're watching these horses trot along, and you go, well, they trot nice. Are you going to put them into the big race with the thoroughbreds? I have a hard time betting against Boston and the Rangers because the other teams they're up, they're down, they're in, they're around. Oh, they're hopeful. Ottawa's lost 6 of the last 7 games. Everybody was up like I was in Ottawa. You should have heard they were planning all kinds of playoff stuff. They scored 10 goals in their last 7 games. They've lost 6 in their last 7. Oh yeah, no kidding. You have Columbus, great story. Detroit, they were stumbling. They've won 5 in a row. You got Montreal. I'm having a tough time. Those teams, you know what they consistently show me, Jason? That they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
And the Boston Bruins have been there. The New York Rangers have been there. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been there. And they have Crosby. So I would say 2 of those 3.
And lastly, I know you mentioned Billet earlier. Are you shocked that he got fired today by Kelowna?
I'm always shocked. I'm shocked. You can tell I'm speechless, right?
Yeah. Like it doesn't. Like I don't. That's a really odd move for me. Like that guy can't stay unemployed very long for a junior hockey coach. Like isn't he automatically like skyrocketing to the top of available coaches for junior hockey? Yeah. In my view, we should. Again, like Bruce Hamilton has a long history there. Last year, Derek Walser got fired in Red Deer after Brendan brought him in, right? And you look at it. Some things you go, okay, like it's inevitable. The Cologne Rockets, like TJ Ginn was hurt. They just made some big trades. I don't know what the inner workings are. Bruce knows that better than me. But from the outside looking in, you heard me. I'm speechless and I'm shocked because I think Chris Millett is a really good coach. Greg, great stuff as always, my man. We appreciate it. Have yourself an awesome weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
There you go. That's Craig Button from TS. And so, yeah, that's kind of surprising news in the junior hockey world today. Millett getting let go. So, shocker. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with 5 questions on the Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get your promo code Gregor50 to get a free $50 play at PlayAlberta.ca.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Attention drivers, it's the midwinter tire clearance sale at Fountain Tire. Right now, you can save up to 20% off all in-stock winter tires. That's right, premium brands, unbeatable safety, and incredible savings. But don't wait, this sale ends March 8th. And once they're gone, they're gone. Contact your local Fountain Tire for complete details.
Legacy Heating and Cooling is the only place to call for heating your home. So when it's time to replace your old furnace, call Legacy. Or for 24-hour repair with no overtime rates. Legacy even heats your shower with hot water tanks. Call Legacy. And with no interest and no payments for 1 year, it could only be Legacy Heating and Cooling.
It's your last chance to shop Boxing Day deals at the Brick. Start the new year off right and save up to 40% off mattresses, up to $960 off sectionals, up to $600 off big screen TVs, and up to $300 off select kitchen appliances when you buy 3 or more. Plus, pick up a queen spring wall Euro top for the price of a twin. Some exclusions apply. See thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
You've got a go-to coffee spot, a trusted barber, even a lucky game day jersey. But when it's about looking your absolute best, there's only one name you need. Mr. Dirk. Family run since 1939. We're experts in crafting impeccable tailor-made suits and offering a wide variety of everyday styles. Pair that with personalized one-on-one fittings and the convenience of on-site tailoring. Mr. Dirk elevates your style game. Visit our Edmonton store or explore MrDirk.com. Score big on style with Mr. Dirk.
Oodle Noodle Origins. In 1864, Francis Oodle took over his dying father's business as a leatherman. He was quite proficient, but his heart was never truly in the trade.
After his father's death, Oodle met a cocksure young man named Vladimir Nudel, who was a trailblazer in the popular new art of food boxes. They formed a partnership and aimed to ply their trade in the new world. At Ellis Island, Nudel was renamed David Noodle, and henceforth, the franchise has been known as Noodle Noodle.
You don't know what awaits you on the road to come, but with the 2025 XC90 from Volvo of Edmonton, you'll have the versatility to take on whatever life throws at you. The new XC90, a luxurious SUV with seating for up to 7, boasts newly upgraded body and wheel design. It's the perfect choice to drive into the coming year. And right now, you'll save $4,500 and lease from 1.49% on all in-stock 2025 XC90s. Volvo Cars Edmonton. VolvoCarsEdmonton.com, 1205 101 Street Southwest.
Need a solid foundation without the fuss? Richard and Kalina at DCL Pile Driving have your back. Locally owned, they offer straight, driven piles. No screwing around. Serving all of Alberta, DCL Pile Driving gets your foundation ready in hours with minimal ground disturbance. Perfect for tight spaces, whether it's for a deck, grain bins, or RTMs. Tell them the radio sent you and receive a special discounted rate. Call or text 587-322-PILE. DCL Pile Driving. Don't get screwed. Get piles driven.
Get ready, Edmonton. The 2025 Quick Card Edmonton Minor Hockey Week is here. Celebrating 61 years of hockey excellence, January 10th to 19th. Witness over 10,000 players from more than 600 teams compete for the top spot in their division. It's one of the biggest minor hockey tournaments in the world. A heartfelt thank you to the volunteers, coaches, refs, and families who make this event possible. Come cheer for the future stars of hockey during Quick Card Edmonton Minor Hockey, proudly sponsored by Sports 1440.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all your residential water needs, your local water treatment company. More than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
It's not just another pair of glasses. It's the Jason Gregor Show. Thanks for checking out Edmonton Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Gregor, Wanye, Connor Halley on a lovely positive Friday. Hope you're having an awesome day. You've got Cotton Bowl tonight. Deciding who's going to be in the national championship if you're a college football fan. The Elks, Mr. Mitchell, released receiver for them. They officially announced their coaching staff, which we had talked about, Demetrius Maxey, Tucker, and Grimes. Of course, along with Maximic and JC Sherritt, the main coaches for them moving forward. Of course, Sorrells is the only guy who stays in. Pretty good season with the O-line last year, so he will stick around for at least another year on the O-line. Let's get to 5 questions brought to you by The Brick. We're saving you more. That's what they do, and you can continue. You only have until Sunday to get on the Boxing Week savings, where you can save up to $900 on sectionals. You can get 25% off furniture or kitchen appliances at the Brick and thebrick.com.
It's time for 5 questions on the Jason Gregor Show.
All right, guys, question number 1. What, if any, was the best learning lesson last night for the Oilers in the loss of the Penguins?
I'm not that worried about the loss. Connor, maybe I'm foolhardy and you say, Wanye, you're too tough. You're too made of steel. I think it was a bad first period. And then other than that, they were right in it.
No, it's one game. It was 10 minutes, actually. It was 10 minutes of suck. And that's what, now the great part is it's always good for a coach to get reminders for his team. You got to be ready to play and you got to protect the middle of the ice. They were horrendous covering the middle of the ice in their own zone in the first 10 minutes of that game.
I'm with you. That's it. Start quicker. Question number 2. If you had to look into your crystal ball and look at the next couple months here, let's say 3 to 4 months for Evander Kane, what do you think it looks like, and when does he return to the lineup for Edmonton?
Wow, he's not coming back to the playoffs. I don't see how that'll happen. And then in the playoffs, I couldn't tell you. It would be interesting because the gentleman sitting to my right, if all of a sudden Kane plays on opening night of the playoffs, will you be ripping the Oilers like you rip Vegas? Probably not. So we'll see how many Oiler fans are okay with something that they screamed was the worst thing ever in Vegas. I just want to see the chaos. So that's what I'll say.
This is my question. Like, I'm prone to conspiracy theories. I'll be the first to admit it. Is there gamesmanship announcing that he has knee surgery on January 10th? Like, why didn't they have this surgery earlier in his recovery period so he could recover from everything and get back sooner? Like, why wait till now?
Well, they couldn't when like he had major surgery on his core. You can't have everything at once. He has to get back so he can move from double hernia surgery first. Right? It's like, okay, ask anybody else. Like, to do both hernias at once is hard enough. Never mind. Well, now we're gonna have a knee thing, and yeah, it's too much. You don't want to be stagnant and do nothing for too long, right? So he's done his rehab, he's getting better, made some traction. So now they do this. There's nothing structural here, according to Kane. It sounds like, maybe there's a bone spur or something they just took out of your knee, but it's not a tendon by the sounds of anything. So it's one where his current rehab gets delayed a bit, but not massive.
I don't see him coming back until the playoffs either. And then I wonder, how much can he contribute? How long would he have been off then the entire season?
Well, yeah, he hasn't played since game 1 against Florida.
Question number 3 for you guys. Of course, the Oilers and Hawks meeting tomorrow in Chicago. The Blackhawks last spot in the NHL right now. How many players will they move on before the trade deadline?
It's hard to say. Even in a rebuild, they got to be pretty unhappy with how this season went. We can remember being freaking out, Connor, about burning years of an ELC, right? Bedard burned a year, kind of. He hasn't necessarily had the year they thought he would.
Well, I don't know. They don't have a lot of UFAs, right? Like, look at Taylor Hall could get moved. I think Ryan Donato is going to get moved. I don't know. Like, they don't have anybody else who jumps off the page to me to be like, oh my goodness, like, we really got to get this guy. That's kind of their problem. Like, sometimes when you're a bad team, you want to be like, well, you know what, we got a few guys that we can get rid of, and so that we'll get a few more draft picks and great. But right now, they don't have any of that. So, like, now, unless, are they willing to eat some salary and trade away Nick Foligno, although he's their captain? I don't know if they want to do that. Like, does Pat Maroon have any, like, if he does, like, he's probably a 6th rounder. So, I don't see. The one guy will be Connor Murphy. If he could probably command something decent, a team that would acquire him would get him for this year and next year. So I'll say Connor Murphy.
Question number 4. If you had to make an NFL bet this weekend up at playalberta.ca, what would be one that you're looking at?
Eagles over Green Bay? Thoughts?
Ooh.
They're the favorites, so yeah.
It's a tough one. I would take Washington just because they're the underdogs. I think they get better odds, and I like them to win.
Stone Smart, anytime touchdown.
Who?
Exactly. Chargers backup tight end. He's a good receiver. They just don't utilize him in the red zone. But hey, if it hit, you guys would get paid.
Is he any good in the red zone, though? You don't know because you've never seen him. Does he get separation? Does he get
he's a good player, but he's too much of an offensive weapon for the Chargers. They prefer Will Dissly and running the ball up the middle. So yeah, probably not going to happen. But Chargers money line. Question number 5 for you guys was on this day in 1999. The Sopranos debuted on HBO, starring the late James Gandolfini. So when it comes to crime, gangster movies, and TV shows, who is your favorite character?
Without a doubt, it's Nucky Thompson from Boardwalk Empire. You ever watch that show? That's the best gangster show, I think, of all time. HBO, Boardwalk Empire, Nucky Thompson.
Oh, man. You know who had a lot of really good character? And I'm going to put Ray Donovan in this conversation. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but John Voight as Mickey Donovan was phenomenal. He was such a dick in the show. His character, like, God, you couldn't stand him, but he was so good. Like, I love, like, obviously, Liev Schreiber's Ray Donovan. He was pretty great too. But I'm gonna go. He wasn't the main guy, but John Voight. He played his character so well. Like, you wanted to despise him, but then there was times where it's like, oh yeah, he's a nice guy. Like, it was classic. So I'm gonna go with Mickey Donovan.
Connor, quickly, Gregor, did you like the last last episode of Sopranos, or were you mad when it went off the air?
I never watched The Sopranos
Oh.
in its entirety. I watched here and there. So, didn't what's his name get killed?
Well, you never know. They're sitting in a restaurant with the family, and then
Yeah, but they all got shot.
we don't know.
Well, then it looked like it wasn't all the guns. Like, what do you think they were doing? Like, were they playing target practice?
Open-ended question.
Nah, come on, he died.
Woo.
You don't think he died?
I don't know. I think a
No.
show that was that.
Do you think he died? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Left it open for a movie.
He had a way of eluding attacks, didn't he? There was like the carjacking on him, and he found a way to survive somehow. So,
Given how graphic that show was when they were killing people off, I just can't see that they wouldn't give the Soprano family this like insane send-off in the finale if they died.
That's probably why you wrap it up to leave question, which is like the worst, right? I could see how people hate it. So they're just like, this is terrible. So not good at all. But yeah, I don't know. Cons, did you see The Sopranos?
oh yeah, I've seen it a couple times. Great show.
Really?
Instead of watching movies, I'm watching long series with hour-long episodes. When I worked on the night show with Struddy, I would go home, watch Sopranos, and eat pasta because that's what Tony Soprano would do.
That's cool.
Gained like 25 pounds doing it. but
Irrelevant.
It was good.
Nice.
Yeah, good show. Worth the watch.
Pasta before bed, Gregor, thoughts? Connor eating pasta before bed?
Not good long term.
Not ideal.
Well, I guess depends how. Like, what do you do? Like, if you eat it for dinner, sure. But if it's like a snack, are you like? Did you just work out?
No, I literally would finish with the night show, go home, make pasta, and turn on Sopranos.
Why make pasta?
They eat a lot of pasta in that show. I don't know.
So you felt if you were eating pasta, you felt
Just-
like you were more part of the show.
Just made me want to have it, I think.
You looked at James Gandolfini's waistline and said, I'd like some of that. What's he
Yeah,
doing to
that-
look so good?
That's who I
like,
became.
like were you putting any sauce on this pasta?
Oh, well, they call it gravy. Yeah.
They call it gravy.
Yeah. Right? Don't give me that look.
I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure, I'm pretty sure Tony says, yeah, get more gravy. Get the
Interesting.
gravy. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's get to a quick break. We'll come back. Speck will join us from Chicago. Jeez, I wonder if he's going to like a blues club tonight. Oof, probably should. It's Friday night in Chicago. He better be doing something. If that jabroni isn't doing something tonight in Chicago, we're going to be chirping him hard. Like, how many Friday nights do you get in Chicago? It's awesome. Let's take Conman Sports 1440 update brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling. Home to no payments, no interest for 1 year on your furnace. Stay warm all winter. LegacyHeating.ca.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
5 games on the ice tonight in the NHL. You got the Blackhawks and the Red Wings. Canadians in Washington. Canes host the Canucks. Kings taking on the Jets, and Utah battles San Jose at the Delta Center in the association. Pacers host the Warriors. The Bucks in Orlando. Sixers taking on the Pelicans. Kings in Boston, and the Bulls hosting the Wizards. In town tonight, the Edmonton Oil Kings in action. They'll host the PA Raiders. That gets going at 7 o'clock down at Rogers Place. They also got the Saints and the Crusaders out at Grant Fuhr Arena. That'll start at 7. And in the AJ Olden, Devin Canmore meets Cam Rose from Heller host Calgary, and Drayton Valley in Fort Mac. Golden Bears hockey on the road tonight down in Calgary at 7. In town, the Pandas host the Dinos. That's at the Drake, also starting at 7 o'clock. You also got wrestling. Bears and Pandas at the U of A Gymnasium tonight and tomorrow. And volleyball. Bears and Pandas on the road in Lethbridge. College football playoffs rolling on tonight. We're about 30 minutes away from kickoff down at the Cotton Bowl as the number 5 Texas Longhorns take on number 8 Ohio State. And at the Sony Open in Hawaii right now, Kensei Hirata atop the leaderboard at 9 under par. You've got Lee Hodges, Zach Johnson, Step Straka, and Patrick Fishburne all tied for second spot in 8th. When it comes to Canadians, Nick Taylor leading the way at 6 under. You got Adam Svensson at 5 under and Adam Hadwin 4 under par. The cutoff looking like it will be -2. Coming up in hour 4 of the Jason Gregor Show, we'll hear from Mark Spector of Rogers Sportsnet and Alan Mitchell, host of The Lowdown with Lowtide. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
Sports 1440 in West Edmonton Mall and Wetaskiwin. CKJR is a Stingray radio station.
Download the free radio player app and listen wherever you go.
Hockey is back, and Play Alberta, Alberta's #1 sportsbook and official partner of the Edmonton Oilers, has you covered with bigger offers, boosted odds, live betting, player props, and more. New to Play Alberta? New players now receive $200 in free bets just for signing up. You already play? Get a $10 free bet for every $100 you bet. every week, all season long. Visit playalberta.ca and make your picks today. Bonus terms and conditions apply.
At Hughes, it's all about getting in and out quick and clean. No cash, no problem. With Hughes' new tap and wash system, all you need is your debit or credit card to get your vehicle sparkling clean.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
Kids get in free all season long. Can you believe it? Looking for an enjoyable and affordable family night out? The Spruce Grove Saints are excited to introduce their Kids Get In Free program. All kids 12 and under receive free admission for every Saints home game this season. Bring the entire family for action-packed junior hockey at a fraction of the cost. For more information, check out sgsaints.ca.
Is it Riverside Motorsports? No. It's Riverside Motosports. Over 55 years in business, and people still get it wrong. Guess it's time to get it right.
Riverside Motorsports. What you do for fun is our business.
Edmonton's premium live music and party venue is
On the Rocks.
Check out Bingo Tunes on Monday. Perform on the best stage in town with karaoke on Wednesdays. Learn how to salsa with Salsa Rocks on Thursdays. And every weekend, OTR goes live.
With your favorite bands on the OTR stage and DJ Kenny K.
For everything that's going on at On the Rocks, give us a follow.
Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.
At On the Rocks, EDM.
Eat well, party hard.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks.
On the Rocks. Open every day till 2 a.m.
Some might like to play hide and seek or even that Where's Waldo game. But out of sight, out of mind is never something GS Construction ever says. Yes, what's underground might be out of sight for everyone, but it's never out of mind for GS Construction because it's not fun and games ensuring Edmonton's underground infrastructure works for you. We take our job very seriously, and even though we may look like we're pretending to be groundhogs, we're really keeping things running smoothly. To find out more, including new job opportunities, visit gsconstruction.ca.
McDonald's presents a hockey showdown like never before. McDavid versus Matthews. There can only be one winner, competing for all the glory and all the prize. The new menu features top shelf plays like the Smoky Quarter Poppy and the Big Mac David, so everybody scores, with even more delicious options like the Spicy Junior Chirpy. Now that calls for a silly Sunday. The Showdown menu, now available at McDonald's.
Get the latest intel before the next hockey game. It's the Cross Mitsubishi pregame show with Andrew Walker and Landon Ferraro. Before the game, join us all season long on Edmonton Sports Station, Sports 1440.
Worst of this hour brought to you by Crystal Glass, your clear choice for residential windows, locally manufactured and installed. Crystal Glass provides a beautiful product and incredible customer services for all of your residential needs. Call 310 Glass or visit crystalglass.ca for a quote.
He's Alberta's sports authority and lead touchdown winner of his family's backyard flag football games. The Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by playalberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
.507. Welcome back on a positive Friday. Jason Gregor, Connor Halley, Wanye Gretz with you as we continue to roll through. Turn your lights on, boys and girls. Make sure your rear tail lights are on as you make your way home. And when you get home, maybe go to playalberta.ca. You can get your tickets for tonight's Lotto Max. Also, use the Gregor 50 code to get a free play at playalberta.ca. Let's get to the spec report brought to you by GS Construction. And they just remind you as you make your way home this weekend, any construction zone, be safe, be courteous, slow down. They all want to get home. They want to watch the games just as much as you. GS Construction, as Mark Spector joins us from lovely Chicago. Spec, are you going to a jazz club tonight?
I might go to a little blues bar down the street here if things work out. It's cold and snowy, but maybe a nice night to see a little blues. What do you think?
Dude, it's Friday night in Chicago. If you do nothing, I'm chirping you endlessly. I don't even care if it's for an hour. You get out there, you got one of the best cities just for food, for entertainment, 100%. You got to go out.
Well, ran into Doug Wilson last night at the rink in Pittsburgh.
What's he doing now?
He's working, he's consulting for the Penguins. He comes in there once a month, apparently.
All right.
Looking great. His health looks fantastic. Hadn't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
And he was telling a story about how when he broke into the league, his defense partner was Bobby Orr, his roommate was Stan Mikita, and his goalie was Tony Esposito. So then he talked about some restaurant that he used to like quite a bit that he used to go to here. And I think Daniel Nugent-Bowman and I are going to test that restaurant out tonight at some point.
I like it. That's good. Now, in speaking to Doug, does he have any aspirations to want to be a GM again? Did you ask him that?
I don't know. You know what? I didn't ask him. Hadn't seen him a long time. He'd had some very serious health issues,
I know.
Of which I am not aware with specifics.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just happy to see him. It wasn't an interview. It was just a handshake and a couple of laughs in the main floor or the event level. So I don't have answers for you. It's a good question. He was a decent GM, pretty good GM in San Jose. I'm not sure if he wants to get back or not.
Yeah, well, for 18 years, man, they were really, really good. No question. The Oilers were actually really good for 50 minutes, Spec. The problem was they were dreadful for 10, and that cost them the game.
Yeah, coaches always say, I laughed this morning, they always say that when you look at the video the next day, you thought you played great, you could find things where maybe you weren't as great as you thought. And when you thought you really stunk, and then you watch the video, you're actually better than you thought. And that's what Knobloch said today. He said, our first shift, we were really good. Connor Brown almost scored about 30 seconds in. And then he said we weren't as good. He said, when their first goal went in, we put together about 9 awful minutes of hockey.
Yeah.
And boom, it's 3-0. He said that was awful. And then he said after that, I didn't mind it. Second, third period, we were pretty good. So, you come away from that game disappointed you don't win. But to be honest, it's just the 9 minutes that I've seen them play a bad 10 minutes. We all have. And they end up coming out of it down 1-0,
yes. Mm-hmm.
Or tied 0-0, and you go, man, they sure escaped that. They didn't escape anything in Pittsburgh. They were brutal for 10 minutes of hockey. 3 goals went in, and they never caught up.
Yeah, no, not at all. Leon Draisaitl, though, 2 more goals. He's now got 31 in 41 games. I have 10 questions I wrote at Oilers Nation. I've been asking him throughout the show today. Do you think Draisaitl reaches 60 for the first time in his career?
Yeah, I'm going to say, just based on averages, I'm going to say yes. Where's the Oilers' power play ranked right now?
Well, it's been really good for last month, and then he's got 6 power play goals in the last 18 games after only having 1 in the first 12. But he's only he does only have 7 at the halfway mark of the season, and so he's well below that. But he's way above his even strength. So if he does lose some even strength numbers, you're guessing he's going to gain on the power play is what you're saying. Because I think overall in the season, the Oilers' power play is now 8th at 24%.
Okay, so it's 8. It's going to go up. I mean, history tells us it's going to go up. It's been top 3 for a long time. So I'm thinking that if the power play improves, Draisaitl gets a bunch of those goals. So, it's going to come down to it. Like, if the question was, will he have 60 goals with 4 games to play? I think I'd say no. But you know what? He might be sitting at 58 with 3 to play, and then we're going, it's the chase for 60s on. So I'll say yes, he'll get to 60 this year. It'd be a hell of a feat, but the way it's going in for him at even strength, if the power play gets better, I think he can do it.
Looking at, I got 2 other questions I want to ask you. So,
okay,
Darnell Nurse, from the day Paul Coffey got hired until the All-Star break last year, he was excellent. Then they came out of the All-Star break, and he struggled down the stretch. Wasn't as good. I know there's a little nagging injury, but he didn't play as well as he did. He admitted it. He's been the Oilers' best defenseman through 41 games. Since November 1st, he's been a top 10 defenseman in the NHL 5-on-5. He's been excellent. Can Darnell Nurse not necessarily stay top 10, but play at very close to what he is right now? Is this sustainable for the second half of the season?
I think it is, because to me, it's confidence. He's always had the abilities. Like, he didn't get better, in the last 6 months. It's confidence, right? He's found a game. Like, it's amazing that it can take till a guy's 29 to find this mix of skill and confidence and composure and, abilities, and they've all come together here. But I don't see anything in his game that's fluke. Like, let's say if he was scoring a bunch of goals and he had a 28% shooting percentage, we'd go, you can't sustain that. Tell me, is there something in his game that he's doing really well that you can't sustain? I don't see it. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to sustain it. Do you?
Well, I just, I looked at last year and he's played very well. There's no reason he shouldn't. I agree. Like he's got all the tools. He's big. He's so mobile, and, he can shoot the puck. Like, you know what? Nurse has shut up all his complainers and doubters this year. And I think it's like most of his career, actually, Darnell Nurse has over exceeded his salary. Now, this is a very hard one to do. He might never do it. But no one's complaining about his numbers this year because they're great. And you know what? You might say $9 million defenseman, but he's doing a lot of great things on the ice. He's suppressing shots. He's not getting scored on. We go down the list, and no one really talks about it. And as it should be, because I think Darnell Nurse is that good. And he's had it like 2 years ago when he made it. Him and Cody Ceci were unreal together, actually. They had a great year all year long. And, some people still complained because the team lost, but you can't really complain now because it's hard to find a lot of glaring weaknesses in his game right now.
No, and fans are going to fan. They're emotional, and I won't tell you how to fan because you pay your money, you say what you want. I think the people, like I talk to a lot of hockey people who come to games, professional scouts and GMs and assistant GMs, and those people, you know what? They're not talking about Nurse either. They used to talk about Nurse in terms of, man, I don't know how this team's going to deal with a 9 1/4 defenseman that just made that mistake we all just saw. I'm not hearing that almost ever this year, right? Guys are saying, guys are watching Nurse play and they're seeing what you're supposed to see from a guy making that much money, right? He's controlling the pace of play. He's as you say, suppressing shots. He's really, with his legs, he cuts off a lot of offense before it even starts.
Yeah.
He denies his blue line really, really well. The confidence he has, that his speed and mobility allow him the confidence to do things because he knows if it doesn't work out, I can catch up. He's not taking offensive chances. We knew the Darnell Nurse that when he got over the blue line with the puck, it's like he forgot that he was what to do and how to do it. That player's not there anymore. So his game's come together. It's really come together, man. I don't see myself as a guy that is looking for what's going to go wrong with Darnell Nurse right now. It's all going right for what I can see.
Yeah. The Oilers into Chicago tomorrow. It'll be the third game in 4 nights for the Blackhawks, second half of a back-to-back.
Yep.
And, Edmonton's showing pretty good professionalism here. I'd be surprised if they have another terrible 10 minutes to start the game because the rest of the game, they really controlled it against Pittsburgh. And, Pettersson stopped the goal. Otherwise, it's 5-4. And, and then it's probably real chaos in that period. Yeah. But we saw Hyman more because they were playing Chase. Do you expect him to start the game with McDavid tomorrow?
Yep. Yeah, I think I think the Connor Brown experiment was fun, and I believe it's over. In fact, I asked Chris Knobloch that today, and all he'd say is you'll see Hyman back in the top 6, and I don't see him breaking up the Draisaitl line. So, yes, I think you'll see a return to a third line with Janmark and Henrique and Brown. I think you'll see Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Hyman on your top line. I think we all know what the Draisaitl line is. And I think you're going to see, judging by what we saw at practice today, my guess would be that Jeff Skinner's in the press box tomorrow. And you get...
really?
Yeah, I think so. The way it lined up, they can always make a change.
Okay.
But the way it lined up, the placeholder in today's practice lines wasn't Derek Ryan center in the top line in McDavid's spot. It was Jeff Skinner up there. Which didn't really work out. It doesn't make much sense. So I think you'll see who am I missing on the fourth line? You got Ryan in the center, you got Perry on the right wing, and you got Kapanen on the left wing. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you had to, if I had to put down a $20 bill right now, I think Jeff Skinner's an odd man out tomorrow.
Ooh. So, okay, that's great. That leads to my next question. Evander Kane announcement today.
Yeah.
With his, I don't like to use the term minor, but surgeries are different. There's no ACL, there's no tendon damage, there's no structural damage in his knee. He was just cleaning some stuff up. But to me, I think that pretty much guarantees he's not going to play in the regular season. So is my question, Spec. I know Jeff Skinner now, he's a healthy scratch again. Do the Oilers go out, and we know they're going to get a defenseman, maybe a fourth line center, or maybe they solve it from then. Do you think they look to acquire another left winger, potentially a scoring left winger? Because as good as Podkolzin is, he's not a scorer.
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, you got if you let's say you got a scoring left winger, what are you doing with where's Skinner ever going to play, and where's Kane going to play?
Yeah, well, you'd probably move Skinner, try. Although that might be really hard to do because he's got no movement clause, right? So, but if you're not playing him, Spec, what's he doing? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Like Skinner's a conundrum because he's a top 6 winger all day, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. I applaud the fact that he hasn't cried and moaned and said, "I'm not in the top 6, so I'm not going to try." Like he's trying to find a place on this team for himself. But the problem is, he's just not a bottom 6 guy. He's, we talked the other day about how they kind of had a top 9 going. If they're going to do that and spread their offense out, he can be on the third line, that Henrique line, and maybe that he can work there. But if you're going to put him in a checking role, he's not a checker, man. He's just not a checker.
No, I totally agree with you.
And I think the mistake is here, he doesn't work with McDavid or Draisaitl. And if that's the case, then you can't play in the top 6 in Edmonton. So I don't know what to do with Skinner. It's looking very much like a Jeff Jackson mistake bringing this guy in, because he's not working here in the role they got him. And no one in their right mind would have brought Skinner in thinking, well, we'll play him in the bottom 6 as a checker. That's just, he's never done it in his life. It's unfair to the player. That's not what he is. So
no,
I don't know what you do with him, man. He's got a total no move, and you're asking him to leave a team where he's going to make the playoffs for the first time in his life. It's a tough one, boy. It's a tough one.
Oh, for sure. Now, Troy Stetcher back in for Josh Brown tomorrow?
I'm not sure about that. Knobloch didn't say much about it. I did get a feeling from general manager Stan Bowman, not a feeling, I'm darn sure that Brown's time here will end after this Chicago game. They want to get, they're in this position where they don't know what's going on with Kane. They need to get back into accruing cap space mode.
Yes.
And having 22 players is not going to work for them. They're going to go back to 21. It's going to be Brown that goes down probably after the game on Saturday. But I can't tell you if he plays Saturday. Do you play him once more and then send him down? Knobloch likes his game. I get how you want to look at him, and I see all the reasons to play him one more time before you send him down, but I won't come on here and tell you what he's going to do. I'm just not sure tomorrow night.
Yeah, and that
Pickard's in goal, though, I can tell you that.
Yeah, we know that for sure. Stan Bowman, did you get a sense of Noah Philp? I think they got to see him before the break of Four Nations Cup, because after the break, there's only 13 days.
Yeah, that's a good question. I did not get a sense on that. I don't know. It's funny. Different people you talk to in the organization give you different ideas of how close he is, whether he's ready for this jump. I know this. They're walking the line between, we want to see this guy, and we want to, figure out if he's going to be part of our team down the stretch. But they don't want to bring him up here before he's ready to succeed. To me, it goes back to the old Ken Holland thing. I want to bring a guy up once, not 3 or 4 times before he sticks. So I have not heard his name spoken by Stan Bowman, put it that way, in the last few days. I don't see a call-up imminent, and it's probably going to take a good, solid, steady stretch of couple good weeks down in Bakersfield before we see this guy.
No, I think he's up before the end of the month. So
okay, do you?
Yeah.
All right.
They're you got to find out what you have, and you know what? I think we'll see him when they come home after the road trip. Like they come home for one game, but then they go right back out. It's like a pit stop on an 8-game road trip, really. In Edmonton,
change your luggage out and get back on the road, eh?
Pretty much what they're going to do. Exactly. They come home, clean their clothes and play a game, and then go right back. Lastly, Spec, You look at the Penguins, and they got to win. They're still in that race in the jog, should we call it? Not a race, the jog in the Eastern Conference. But what do you make of that? You watched them last night. The Edmonton played terrible, but then after 50 minutes, they completely controlled that game. I just don't see how the Penguins can be a playoff team.
I don't know. There's the East is a funny place. What do they got? 6 teams that we already know who they're going to be, right?
Yeah, they got 6, and the West has 7.
And the West has 7. So, I'm looking at your standings here. The Leafs, Florida, Tampa, all good teams. Washington, Jersey, Carolina, all good teams. Boston's kind of goofy here. I'm not sure what Boston has.
They're not that good right now.
I'm not sure. They're not good right now. I just, there's something about me. I look at the Bruins and I think they got to be better than this. But then you got Columbus and Pittsburgh and Ottawa and Montreal. None of those teams are surefire playoff teams. In my heart, I like what they're doing in Columbus. We all know the tragedy that greeted their season, and that Columbus team's punching above its weight here. I think that's I love the story, man. I'd love to see them get some success in Columbus. They deserve it. They haven't had it for a long time. I look at Pittsburgh, and they're that team. Can they make a wild card spot this year? Okay, make a wild card spot. They're going out in the first round in a heartbeat. They don't have goaltending. Nedeljkovic was really good last night, but they don't have great goaltending. They're not the fastest team. I don't know. I don't see it. It's the end's coming in Pittsburgh, man. The end's coming. They're just putting it off as the best they can. So are they going to make a wild card spot? They got the talent to make a wild card spot, but are they going to win a round? I mean, a team like the Leafs should beat them for fun, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, most nights. Spec, have a good night in Chicago. Yeah. Well, hey, did you see the double -6 last night, Spec? You don't see it very often. Marner and Matthews dashed each. Only the third set of teammates to do that this century. So it's a rough one.
Yeah, double -6. That's craziness, eh?
Yeah.
How do you think Berube would have looked at that game sheet and given his head a shake?
Probably pardon? You probably, as a coach, do a double take. What? These guys are -6. Geez, they're on they were on the ice for a power play goal, but you don't get a plus for that. So
did Columbus have any shorties in that game?
No. They had one empty netter, so you get the dash for that, right? But that's all they had. You'd think maybe there was more. There was only one.
That's unbelievable. You work weeks. You work
yeah.
weeks to pick up 6 points in your plus minus, and you blow it in one night. That hurts, boy. -6, 2 guys, best 2 players on your team. I don't think you're going to win many when your best 2 guys go -6, pal.
Yeah, no, it's pretty tough. Pretty tough. Spec, have a good night in Chicago. You better get on the town, and we'll hear about it Monday.
Work, church, and home, buddy. You know me.
All right. The Church of the Blues. Enjoy it. That's Mark Spector. The Spec Report brought to you by GS Construction. Now we'll return. LT will join us. We'll see if Wanye has a pulse and more on the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
It's your last chance to shop Boxing Day deals at the Brick. Start your new year off right and save up to 40% off mattresses, up to $960 off sectionals, up to $600 off big screen televisions, and up to $300 off select kitchen appliances when you buy 3 or more. Plus, pick up a Queen Springwall Eurotop for the price of a twin. Some exclusions apply. See thebrick.com for details. The Brick, saving you more.
Cold, icy mornings, frozen windshield, snow in the forecast, and your vehicle won't start. You know what that means, Alberta. Winter is here. Don't get left out of the cold. Head to Napa Auto Parts today to gear up for the frosty months ahead. Winter won't wait, and neither should you. From premium batteries, starters, and alternators to high-quality wiper blades, antifreeze, and snow brushes, Napa Auto Parts has everything you need to get your vehicle winter ready and running. With over 85 locations in Alberta, stop into your local Napa store or visit NapaCanada.com for all your trusted parts, tools, equipment, and automotive needs. That's Napa know-how.
If you live or work in the country, you need your water well in top condition. Wash away any doubt with Caliber Drilling. Experts in residential and industrial water well services with over 20 years experience and a team of dedicated journeyman drillers, plumbers, and electrical technicians. Need a new water well or work done on your existing well? Keeping you well maintained and well serviced is their #1 priority. Financing is available. Visit caliberdrilling.com for a complete list of all drilling services or call 780-960-2992.
Diablo Boots and Canada West, the two best names in work, biker, and western boots. Diablo has been selling quality Canadian boots for over 60 years, from size 6E to 15EE. Why buy boots made in China like Erie, Red Wing, and Dakota, when Diablo Boots has the best quality for less? Made in Winnipeg. Plus, all of Diablo Boots have replaceable soles and heels for longer life. So save on boots by Save on Foods. That's Diablo Boots, 3340 Gateway Boulevard, on the east side of Save on Foods.
Get ready, Edmonton. The 2025 Quick Card Edmonton Minor Hockey Week is here. Celebrating 61 years of hockey excellence, January 10th to 19th. Witness over 10,000 players from more than 600 teams compete for the top spot in their division. It's one of the biggest minor hockey tournaments in the world. A heartfelt thank you to the volunteers, coaches, refs, and families who make this event possible. Come cheer for the future stars of hockey during Quick Card Edmonton Minor Hockey, proudly sponsored by Sports 1440.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV. And I'd like to thank all the people who buy new RVs. Buying your RV new is the most generous thing you can do to help your fellow man. Every year, thousands of people just like you go to the RV show or walk into a new RV store, pay full price, take great care of it like you always do, and then eventually sell it to us. And of course, we pay you market value for your used RV.
But that's tens of thousands less than you paid for it.
That's right, Bob. Could be half of what you paid for it when it was new. And it's still in great shape. So who gets the benefit of that reduced value? Our customers, that's who.
No Bull customers never pay full price for an RV because we only buy used.
Right again, Bob. So we'll enjoy the same RV you have now, only we pay like half as much. And it's only possible because you generously decided to pay that higher price when you bought it. So thanks again to all the new RV buyers, and we'll see you in a few years.
And that's No Bull.
NobleRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Papa John's. Get the Slap Shot Special. Add a 2-liter Pepsi product to a large one-topping pizza and garlic Parmesan breadsticks and bundle it for only $25.99. Use promo code HOCKEY24 at papajohns.ca.
From puck drop to kickoff, it's the Jason Gregor Show on Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca, Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Positive Friday continues on. Hope you have a great weekend. Ooh, the work week is here. Get out on the town, have some fun, maybe a good dinner, maybe just relax and sit at home, put the feet up on the couch, watch a movie, maybe The Sopranos. Who knows? Who knows? As let's get to the oil report brought to you by Volvo Cars Edmonton. They are, of course, 13-time excellence winner in service and sales. Get a great deal, better service at VolvoCarsEdmonton.com. Alan Mitchell, host of The Lowdown, noon to 2 on Sports 1440, joins us. LT, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm very well. It's a beautiful night out. I just took the garbage out a little while ago, and I was in shorts, and I was a little frozen. Not bad.
Nice. Keep it clean for your neighbors, Al. Now, the Evander Kane situation, I think this almost guarantees he's not going to play in the regular season. So I ask you, Al, will Evander Kane be playing in game 1 of the playoffs?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, if the timeline allows that he would heal and he would get into shape, and look, if he's healthy, remember when he came over, and remember the Calgary series? If he's healthy, he's a really good player, and you can't keep him out of the lineup. And I would imagine that he'll certainly be in the top 9. I mean, unless he's not, he's just back. I'll say, yeah, he's in the lineup, and he's in the top 9 for sure.
And so, will Oiler fans be upset about this gross cap circumvention now?
One thing I will say, if any team could cause this little loophole to be sealed up, it's the Oilers winning the Stanley Cup. That would drive everybody mad.
Oh God, buddy, I'm here for it. I am all here for it. It would be fantastic. And you know what? It's well worth the thing that would make it better, Al, is that on April 10th, Evander Kane goes on an LTIR conditioning stint, which is completely allowed. Don't count on the roster. You get 3 games in the American League. He could play on the 11th, the 12th, and the 16th. The NHL regular season ends on the 17th. And then he can come up and play. Unbelievable scenario, Al. That's what I want. I want chaos.
Right. And who's to know whether they could have done this knee surgery before? Who knows? I mean, it's in the ether, you know? So here's what I'll say is that the National Hockey League, has allowed this before. So somebody will get caught. Somebody will have to give up a pick or whatever. But if you win this, if the Edmonton Oilers won, and just hear me out. If the Edmonton Oilers won the Stanley Cup and they had to give Calgary another damn 3rd round pick because of something perceived, I think Oilers fans would take that.
Well, if they win the cup, they won't care. But they're not going to have to give up another pick here. He's clearly had the surgery. Now, people ask, well, why didn't he have it earlier? My understanding is you can't rehab another thing. Like he got to the point where his rehab on his abdomen was good enough that now you could do this, is my understanding. So,
okay, well, then that's fair. And, the doctors know more than I do. So the one thing I will say is that if you look at the way the roster is structured now, they have so many centers on this team, and they have so many, I think, really good wingers too. But Kane is, as much as we can say that this team is really good and veteran, and they have all kinds of various skills, Kane is unique.
Oh, yes.
He's a big man. He's belligerent. He intimidates. People don't like to talk about it, but he's an intimidating guy, and that has value, especially in the postseason.
Oh, God, Al. The orders are soft right now in a lot of areas. Soft is probably hyperbole, but they lack. I think they could add more skilled grit to their team.
Oh yeah, and Kane makes I'll never forget the quick brief conversation he had with Kachuk on the ice, and that was sort of the end of Kachuk for the series. He is there's just a thing. There's a thing about Evander Kane. Not many players have it, and he does. And he is really capable of doing damage. And when he hits, it hurts. And having that in the lineup, I do think it, when you play the Oilers and Evander Kane is at peak Kane, I think other teams come into this city to play hockey and they go, man, let's not get too physical because you don't want Kane hammering you. And that he's a very unique player in the National Hockey League. Like somebody said the other day, well, they got to go get another Kane. Where? How many Kanes are there in the league?
Yeah. Hey, what about Trent Frederick in that regard? Do you have interest in him at the deadline?
Yeah, I like him. I've watched him a lot for the Bruins, and he's gotten better. He's sort of become comfortable in that he's not. He was a 1st round pick, but he's not ever going to be a 30-goal guy. So he's got to play a very particular role. But he's embraced it more in the last year or so, and he's not fun to play against. He's really tough.
LT, if he's been off for a year, and even if he makes use of Gregor's AHL hole in the matrix, can Evander Kane come back in the playoffs and immediately slot into the lineup? Is that a reasonable expectation?
Well, I think, why not? If he's healthy, because he's a unique player, who's going to hold him back? The thing about Evander Kane is that he's not, he's taking the place of somebody who's carrying the spot, but their skills are probably duplicated on the roster. To use an extreme example, and I'm in no way saying this, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Adam Henrique are somewhat similar players. Kane is a unique player. So whoever they take out of the lineup, it won't be Podkolzin, but let's say it's, whoever's farther down that lineup. Kane will replace them. Podkolzin might end up on the 4th line on left wing, though.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, it'll all come down to, I think Kane, when he comes back, you project him to be a bottom 6 winger. And as he gets his speed and timing and everything up, then maybe he can be a top 6 guy. Great. But if I'm Stan Bowman, I'm building my team, and I have a sense maybe of, okay, we think doctors, okay, what's his timeline? Is he working if he works as hard as he needs to rehab, we think he can be ready for the playoffs, for argument's sake. Well, then we're gonna pencil him in as a bottom 6 guy, and if he exceeds that, well, now our team's even better. That would be my plan.
Yeah, and if you can get him in the top, like if you can get him on the third line, let's say the left wing depth chart, and I'm going to miss somebody because I always do, is like Nugent Hopkins and Podkolzin and Janmark and, whoever's on the fourth line. I don't, my brain isn't working. Yeah. So, but I think you could put Kane on the third line and have, Janmark penalty kill from the fourth line. I don't like, I third or fourth line, I'm fine with, but I also think that if he's playing at his absolute best, he could move up and down that lineup.
Yeah, no, it's totally fair. They go into Chicago tomorrow. They had a terrible first 10 minutes. There's no doubt about it. Speck was telling us that it looked like it might be Jeff Skinner out of the lineup. Does that surprise you?
Yes and no. I think that again, it gets to roster makeup, right? Like if let's make a list of candidates who could come out of the lineup. Well, Janmark's not coming out of the lineup because he's part of the penalty kill. Podkolzin's not coming out of the lineup because I think he leads the team in hits by some margin.
Significant margin.
Right. So nothing like I really like Skinner. I think he should play on a skill line, but I also think I'm not touching whatever Leon Draisaitl wants. He gets. Honest to God. The guy's the MVP of the league, and he's playing well with Podkolzin. And Podkolzin only has 14 points, but he's whatever Podkolzin does on that line, it's working. I wouldn't break it up at all, and that means that Skinner, just because you need penalty killers and a certain number of role players, he's improving. I really like Jeff Skinner. I just don't think he's the guy that you insert into the lineup and then maybe sacrifice your penalty killing ability because of it.
Well, I guess my question is, do you have to play Derek Ryan? Just keep him out of the lineup.
Well, that day is coming. I don't know what. Honestly, I don't know when. You'd know more about that than I do. It's tough for an organization to make that call. But I think that Ryan is he doesn't penalty kill. He doesn't play that much. He is a little slower. I mean, does he make it to the playoff roster, Jason?
I'd be. I don't think he plays. Could he be on the roster? Yeah, it's possible, I guess. I think the Oilers are maybe leery of, well, geez, if we waive Ryan to bring up Noah Philp, that a team out there claims him. I wouldn't be Derek Ryan. Well, Edmonton's a cup contending team. There's other teams on the bubble. Look at the Eastern Conference. I could probably go down and they look and say, geez, we could use a fourth line. The Ottawa Senators could use a veteran fourth line center to kill penalties and win some faceoffs, right? No question in my mind. So maybe that's what they're a little bit more leery of here. But I think his regular contribution to this team is not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I think, and that's, you run that risk, and you also I'm not a huge fan of Janmark at center, but because I just like him so much on the wing, but I think that's the compromise they've made, and my suspicion is that the management would like somebody to go on IR and they'll call up Philp because I think they'd like to have a look at him, but when Ryan stopped penalty killing, that was a tell for me.
Yes,
and I don't, push will come to shove. The deadline will because they're going to have to make room somewhere. They're if they're adding a defenseman, then Stetcher's the number 7 guy, right? And on it goes.
Yes.
So I guess it would be Regula who would go down to the minors or whatever. So guys are going to be heading to Bakersfield or out of town via trade, and I don't think Ryan will be a part of that. But they'll be making some changes, and I mean, I'm just talking, but if somebody ends up on the IR, I would be shocked around the deadline.
Well, LTIR, because IR, you're still on the roster, so they have room to do it. You're right, they have room to do it, but I know they want to accrue cap space. We heard Speck say Josh Brown, he thinks, is probably going to go back down after this road trip, so they can get back to accruing cap space. So, which I get, it makes sense. Al, have a great weekend. Are the Eagles going to win?
Yes, and I say that because Kruger told me that they were going to, and I he says Green Bay is nothing. I never say Green Bay's nothing. So
it's a bold statement.
I've watched the Eagles in the playoffs, Jason, for a long time, and if you think they can't screw this up, you think again. But I think they'll win.
Awesome, Al. Thanks for your time, buddy. Have a good weekend.
All right, have a good weekend, guys.
It's Al Mitchell, a.k.a. Low Tide. Quick break. We'll come back. We got Cam Tate, Wanye's World, and more. Gregor Show presented by PlayAlberta.ca.
The job isn't done until the last load is hauled, and having a semi-trailer out of commission is not an option. Whether replacing or adding to your convoy, Edmonton Trailer has a huge inventory of new and used semi-trailers, trusted by the gravel, logging, oil field, fluids, and freight industries. Find a trailer right for you online or at one of their 3 locations. For sales, service, parts, rental, and finance, when you're in it for the long haul, Edmonton Trailer.
Do it. Your vehicle is a big investment. Protect it at Hughes Car Wash. We use only clean, fresh water and the highest quality car wash soap. Hughes Car Wash, a car wash pros.
Find us at HughesCarWash.com.
Cold, icy mornings, frozen windshield, snow in the forecast, and your vehicle won't start. You know what that means, Alberta. Winter is here. Don't get left out in the cold. Head to Napa Auto Parts today to gear up for the frosty months ahead. Winter won't wait, and neither should you. From premium batteries, starters, and alternators to high-quality wiper blades, antifreeze, and snow brushes, Napa Auto Parts has everything you need to get your vehicle winter ready and running. With over 85 locations in Alberta, stop into your local Napa store or visit NapaCanada.com for all your trusted parts, tools, equipment, and automotive needs. That's Napa know-how.
If you live or work in the country, you need your water well in top condition. Wash away any doubt with Caliber Drilling. Experts in residential and industrial water well services with over 20 years experience and a team of dedicated journeyman drillers, plumbers, and electrical technicians. Need a new water well or work done on your existing well? Keeping you well maintained and well serviced is their #1 priority. Financing is available. Visit caliberdrilling.com for a complete list of all drilling services or call 780-960-2992.
I'm Rick Showers from No Bull RV, and I'd like to thank all the people who buy new RVs. Buying your RV new is the most generous thing you can do to help your fellow man. Every year, thousands of people just like you go to the RV show or walk into a new RV store, pay full price, take great care of it like you always do, and then eventually sell it to us. And of course, we pay you market value for your used RV.
But that's tens of thousands less than you paid for it.
That's right, Bob. Could be half of what you paid for it when it was new. And it's still in great shape. So who gets the benefit of that reduced value? Our customers, that's who.
No Bull customers never pay full price for an RV because we only buy used.
Right again, Bob. So we'll enjoy the same RV you have now, only we pay like half as much. And it's only possible because you generously decided to pay that higher price when you bought it. So thanks again to all the new RV buyers, and we'll see you in a few years.
And that's No Bull.
NobleRV.ca.
Portions of this hour brought to you by Culligan. For all your residential water needs, your local water treatment company. More than just big bottles, Culligan.com.
Jason Gregor Show, the best of Edmonton sports talk and beyond. This is Sports 1440.
Presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Alberta's only regulated online gambling website.
Rolling through the Gregor Show, presented by PlayAlberta.ca. Get in the game. It's Lotto Max Friday. $40 million. Get your tickets. Stay within your limit at PlayAlberta.ca. It's time for the 2-minute warning brought to you by Legacy Heating and Cooling, where the rates never change. All of a sudden, your furnace conks out tonight or this weekend. Call them. No overtime charges. LegacyHeating.ca. It's a 2-minute warning with Cam Tate.
If there is ever a time to let kids have fun, it's now. If there's ever a time for parents to encourage their kids to play fair and remind them it is only a game, the sun is still going to come up tomorrow morning. If there is a time in Edmonton where every single car ride home from minor hockey arena needs to be celebrating every shot, goal, save, pass, and so many other things. And the one thing we put so much credence and importance. Well, let me put it this way. When a minor hockey player walks through the door after a game, what is the first thing we ask them? Did you win? Winning. In the words of the great Vince Lombardi, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. In professional sports, yes, but minor sports, no. Kids today are going to be in a competitive world. From age 18, they need to squeeze every single ounce. of fun before that. In Edmonton, we have that. Every early January, you may have heard of it, Edmonton Quickcard Minor Hockey Week for 60 years. The first of its kind skated out of the players' box in 1964, with one common goal for the players, coaches, and officials: to have fun, like playing on the outdoor community rink with your friends. With the only had to worry about is if you wouldn't have scolded for playing too long and you missed supper or a homework assignment, because it was fun, right? So maybe the trick is to take that concept and move it into a more structured environment, with timekeepers, with officials, with the ice being cleaned, and make sure, darn sure, to bring the fun. And remember to keep that fun in the game. I know. If you're competitive, you want to win every game, and that's cool, but why not? Until next Sunday, really make an effort to have fun when you play hockey in Edmonton. That can be done. Right, Mom and Dad? 2-minute warning. With me, Tater, Monday, Friday, Gregor Show, Sports 1440.
It's true. Enjoy it. Starts tonight all across the city. Have loads of fun for everybody playing in Edmonton Minor Hockey Week. Be good to the refs. Be good to your kids. Have a good time. Let's get to Wanye's World now, brought to you by Action Electrical, where, hey, they help you take action on your savings, especially if you're thinking about getting solar for both residents or commercial buildings. Find out how at actionelectrical.net.
Interesting news item today, Gregor, that Zack Hyman and his family have reportedly purchased the OHL's Brantford Bulldogs from Michael Andhauer, current owner of the Ottawa Senators and the Belleville Senators. I wonder what you think about that. First of all, amazing. Zack Hyman has got a very impressive off-ice business resume. I think it's very interesting that he's buying an junior team while active in the NHL. I think it's impressive. And him and his dad, there's lots of talk online about how Zack Hyman was getting a leg up because his dad was active in his career and buying up his minor hockey teams. What do you think about these guys buying a junior team?
Well, there's lots of NHL players that own junior teams. So, active ones are a little bit different, but there's still some active guys that own teams. And I think there's going to be more active players that are involved. And junior hockey on a year-to-year basis isn't a moneymaker for a lot of these guys. It's hey, I want to get back to the community I played in. It really helped me out. And, maybe if you sell the team down the road, you can get some of your money back. But when you talk to some of them, it's not all about just making money. I know that sounds crazy for some people, but in the cases of some, it isn't. Now, they have a big arena deal part of this, right? So that makes it a little bit different. And so, it doesn't surprise me. Zack Hyman's parents were business oriented. Zack, I've had long conversations with him about it. He's owned numerous companies already. So it doesn't surprise me that he wants to do it. And, he's going into an area that he probably knows, but there's just because you're a player. It's like I talk to a lot of players, they go into coaching. Oh my God, I didn't know about this. Right. And then you go to Mana. Oh, I didn't know about this. Ownership is going to be the same thing. His father's not owned a junior team, but has some, lots of business ownership understanding. So I'm not shocked by it at all. I wish him best of luck. Anybody, I don't care if you're Zack Hyman or if you're Wanye Gretz. If you buy a junior team, I hope you have success.
Hey, there's a $140 million complex slated to open in Brantford in 2027. So I wonder if that comes along with the team. Does the team own the arena?
Good question. I don't know. Well, it would be part of the deal, I would think, right? Like you would know up front if you're knowing or not. So then does that mean, I guess you take over the mortgage on the building, right?
Well, either you have a lease with the city.
Yeah. Or at least with the city.
Or you own it.
Yeah. One of the two. Either one, you're taking it over. I would. That's a good question. Maybe it's a partnership. I'd have to look deep into it. I have no idea on that.
Zack Hyman's smart though. I don't think that he's, from what little I know of him, prone to doing like vanity investments. I think they must see that there's an underlying business opportunity here. Buying up all those minor hockey teams in Ontario was like a pretty visionary move by the Hyman family at the time. So I don't know. Maybe they just bought themselves a $127 million building in Brantford.
Who knows? Maybe will they have Zack Hyman night there, even though he never played there, but we'll see.
They retire his number night one.
Yeah, now it's him and his family. And keep in mind, like Zack Hyman, when they're playing, his season's on, and that's his main priority, right? So to me, I'm sure he's an investor, and it's some fun stuff to look at in the off season and different things here. And because you're playing doesn't mean you can't be looking at numbers and have meetings and stuff, but it's not like he's going to be a daily hands-on owner when you're an NHL player. You just don't have time.
You don't see him playing for the team ever?
A little bit too old.
I see.
A little bit too old. So
Lemieux did it.
Well, for his NHL team, yeah. Well, I wonder when, like, that's fantastic, right? He got part of it. Like, nowadays, well, the players, you got to make way more money to be an owner of an NHL team, right? Like, it's billions. You might get 1%. You're not going to be a big owner in the NHL right now. Even like Connor McDavid's the highest paid guy in the league, and he's making $100 million in 8 years. That's pittance.
Do you think he'll ever own part of the Oilers?
That's a good, when he retires, if he wants to, maybe. It's a long, like, we're talking 12 years down the road. I have no idea.
Well, I hope he does one day. Hope him and Leon become partners in the team and, I don't know, still play for the team when they're 50 somehow, like Yager, because they own the team. That'd be a great scenario.
Yeah, well, got to be a little bit quicker than old Double J. It's a little lower down the rung of skill sets playing over there for sure. Have a great weekend, everyone. Please do not drink and drive. Don't be inebriated. Don't be weeded. I don't care. Just get home safe. Be smart. And have yourselves a great weekend. Enjoy the football. Enjoy basketball. Enjoy hockey. Enjoy minor hockey week specifically. Have a great time. Let's get to the comment on the sports 1440 update brought to you by Ewell. Score with your power play partners at Ewell. Get all your electrical needs at ewel.ca with 24/7 ordering and shipping in Edmonton and across Alberta.
This is the Sports 1440 update.
5 games on the schedule tonight in the NHL after 20 minutes. Red Wings and Hawks tied at 1 apiece. Caps lead the Canadians 1-0, and the Canes have a 1-0 lead over Vancouver. Later tonight, the Jets host the Kings and the Sharks in Utah. Oilers back in action tomorrow, taking on those Chicago Blackhawks. It's going to be a 5 o'clock start. Andrew Walker, Donovan Paulson, the pregame coverage for you here on Sports 1440, getting going at 4. In the association right now, Pacers up on the Warriors 39-32 in the second quarter. Also, Magic lead the Bucks 46-42, and the Sixers at home trail the Pelicans 42-37. Later tonight, Bulls host the Wizards, and the Nets taking on the Nuggets. The Edmonton Oil Kings in action, hosting the Prince Albert Raiders. That's a 7 o'clock puck drop down at Rogers Place. You also have Spruce Grove taking on Sherwood Park out in Spruce. That one starting at 7 o'clock. And in the AJ Olds in Devon, Canmore meets Camrose. Drumheller hosting Calgary, and Drayton Valley in Fort Mac. Golden Bears hockey tonight. They're on the road in Calgary taking on the Dinos. That'll start at 7 o'clock. In town at the Drake, you got the Pandas hosting those same Dinos. And at the U of A main gymnasium, Bears and Pandas wrestling tonight and tomorrow. And if you're a fan of the volleyball, well, you can watch it online. Pandas and Bears in Lethbridge. Right now at the Stony Open in Hawaii, Kensei Hirata atop the leaderboard at 9 under par when it comes to Canadians taking part. Looks like Nick Taylor will make the cut. He's 6 under, as is Adam Svensson, who is 5 under. The cut looking like it's going to be -2. So Ben Silverman at -3 should be there as well, along with Taylor Pendrith. And college football playoffs right now, Texas and Ohio State scoreless in the first quarter. And that's going to do it for us here on the Jason Gregor Show. Coming up next, we've got Fox Sports Radio tomorrow morning. It is the Saturday Sports set up at 9 a.m., followed by the basketball show with Paul Serve. I'm Connor Halley. This has been a Sports 1440 update.
This is Sports 1440.
A Stingray.